friends? Do we have any friends? That I was playing too. There's no way out. Thought you could get away. There's no way out. You didn't know.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good day, wherever you are. I should just start saying good day, but then I feel like I'm trying to be Australian, and that's just weird. Can everyone hear me all right? First of all, I just want to say hi. I'm Carly. If you have been here before, thank you so much for coming back. If you haven't been here before, I really hope you'll hang out. This is my stream. I call it T&B Q&A with Carly. We do chats, interviews, have a good time. I like drum and bass, and I like talking to people who also like it. Um, we might not focus entirely on music, and that's cool. We're just going to take it where it goes. You guys in the chat, I really would love you to participate. If you have questions, comments, whatever, put them in the chat. I'm going to do my best to follow them and get them in. Today is kind of a special day. Good morning, No Use for Anger, mayor of Twitch, leader of 1134. I'm glad that you are here. Glad that everybody's here. Let's just give props to Rude Boy Soldier, who is like the consummate supporter. He is here at godforsaken hours for Pacific and always just supporting. I really appreciate it. Um, but yeah, UFOcean, Dizzy, thank you so much for the sub. 4 months. You have subbed every single month that I have been an affiliate. I cannot believe it has been 4 months that I have been an affiliate. And I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys. The fact that you um, attend, that you watch, it means that it's worth it for my guests to come and talk to me, and I can keep doing this stream that I love so much. So I really appreciate that. I really, really thank you guys. Doms, Ocean from the Annex, No Use for Anger. I am forgetting someone. Norbsky, good morning. Um, who am I missing? Um, so yeah, let's talk about that. So guys, oh, Mr. Sketty, yes, you're here too. I'm gonna do my best to catch all of your activities, follows, bits, subs, whatever, but let's just talk about that for a second. So guys, my birthday is next month, and to celebrate my birthday for this month and next month, so all of March and all of April, any bits, subs, whatever that I get are going to be donated to two organizations that serve folks with mental health issues or their loved ones. In the US, the organization that I've chosen is NAMI. And in the UK, the organization I have chosen is Mind. I picked the US and UK because those are the two largest populations of my viewers. And so, yeah, guys, those links there, they'll be popping up throughout the stream. But what you need to know is that through Tiltify, any donations you make there go directly to the charity. They do not come to me, and they get, I think maybe they take a small percentage just to run it, but they might not even do that. Um, but basically, Twitch doesn't need their cut. So your donation has a bigger bang for the buck there. And if you can't donate, that's cool. I just decided that for my birthday, I would really like to help folks. And doing a special stream on my birthday, which is the 27th of April. Got a couple things. I've got one thing for sure lined up. Got a couple other ones that I'm thinking about doing and trying to finalize. So super excited. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you guys? Well, today we have DJ Mr. Flex and DJ MK1. Those are their Twitch names, but they go by Flex and MK1. They are based out of the UK. Super cool guys who I really, really enjoy their streams. I'm super excited to have them here. I just finally decided that I would like to have more UK, Europe, etc. guests. And this Saturday time slot is much more attractive for them than the Tuesday time slot. So really excited to be doing this today. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring them in. So I haven't had two guests at the same time before. Hey, guys. Good afternoon.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it
All right.
going?
How are we doing?
Good, good. Flex, can you speak for a little bit and I can get the chat to make sure they can hear you?
Yeah, good. 1 2 1 2. You're in tune to Mr. Flex. Good morning, good afternoon.
All
good
right.
evening.
I think you're good. Mark, how about you do the same?
He sounds so much better than me when he does it, though, doesn't he? Well,
You
I'm
can
just
tell. You can tell when Flex is streaming that he was an MC. You get the he's got that flow. You know what I mean? Like I love it. I absolutely love it. That's one of the things I like the best about your stream. And let me just say, like, now that you guys are here, I'm just going to big you up while you're here. I'm super excited to have you because I have loved you guys from the moment I first saw you stream. The first time I saw you, I think might have been at Norbsky's affiliate party, where you guys were doing the sort of trivia battle.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I was super impressed by your knowledge, and you guys just you guys seem like cool guys, and so I followed both of you, and I've loved your streams so much. You both are excellent DJs, play great music, and I'm just
Thank you.
plus you just seem like really good people, so I'm super happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Curly. And same with us. I mean, it's been brilliant. This whole link up has been brilliant. So
right?
yeah.
Like so you know what, while we do that, why don't I just go ahead and start out by asking you guys sort of how you ended up on Twitch.
So shall I lead?
Yeah,
Do you want me to lead that one?
It was because it was your idea. So I think you should lead that.
Yeah, we were just looking for a way to stream and get together just with our friends, really, more than anything else. And someone come up with the idea. Someone mentioned to me Twitch. I was like, yeah, isn't that just for gamers? And you dig a little bit more. And then I don't think we took Twitch seriously until about Halloween time. Really, we were just doing it each week.
Yeah.
Friends, that was it. A few people followed. Nothing crazy at all. But yeah, man, it's been an amazing journey. It's Twitch is something else. The D&B community on Twitch is just something else. It was a whole new world that I'd never discovered before, and it was just amazing.
We were on for a long time. We were on for I say a long time. It's all relative terms, but we got on to Twitch around about, it might have been almost a year ago now. March, April, very early on in our full lockdown. Basically, we were doing it purely and simply to entertain our friends. And we definitely not hung up our headphones ever in life, but we sort of converted to doing parties here in this house. And I mean, we can talk about that. I'm sure that will come up later for multiple reasons. But yeah, those same people that come here and party with us, basically, we were giving them an outlet. It was almost a collective decision. So yes, Flex was the one who kicked things off, and I followed suit immediately, and we just got on there, and we didn't know that there was a Twitchosphere. It was like we were just in our own private place. Everyone else on the left there didn't even take any notice of those names. We literally just went on a Friday night. Flex went on first, and we didn't know what raiding was. We didn't raid ever. So we got our friends to log off and log back on to our different channels. I had no idea about raids.
Yes.
And it was something we were talking about. We're like, there must be a way. Why can't we, share audiences? And we were trying to work out all these daft ways of coming through the same channel, but from completely different places in the UK. And then we discovered raiding. We were like, oh, right, you just have to write a few letters and job done. That simple. So yeah, that was the reason we did it. It was purely for our own crew. Basically, the parties we have here are sort of just old heads that all used to go raving together, that just have never grown up and never want to grow up, and never want to lose that. So we, every sort of 3 months or so for the last decade, basically since Norbsky and I moved into here, we've thrown parties here, and that's just perpetuating. And we've got another friend who does one in his barn, who started that a few years ago as well. And it's just like a little thing that we do. And it was purely a way for us to entertain those people. And then thanks to Norbsky, we discovered there was a world outside of what we were doing. And as a result of met amazing people, created amazing connections, talented people, friendly people, built relationships, and I don't need to go into the whys and wherefores of Twitch and why it's a good thing, really, because it's almost a cliche to say, oh yeah, everyone's really friendly here. We know that now. I'm taking that for granted now. Anyway, I'm shutting up. So.
Well, you know what I love about that sort of origin story for you guys is that you came here then with the intention of staying connected with your friends, hanging out with them, sort of intentionally, we are going to survive lockdown by gathering together and not losing that, even if we have to do it in a virtual space. Whereas I think for me and probably a lot of other people, that was like an accidental byproduct for us, like the actual connecting with people. Like I came from music and had no idea how the friendships that I was going to forge and the sort of community that I was going to find. So I love that you guys came in sort of intentionally with that. And then were slammed and shocked and awed, I think, like most of us, by the sort of, I mean, God, compared to the gaming streamers, we are like little, small, very small potatoes. But I mean, for me, this is like massive, right? Like hundreds and hundreds of people to interact with. It's fantastic.
Whole family.
So yeah, right. It feels unique, but I don't know. Maybe the techno people feel the same way, and the house people, and
quite possibly. And you know how these things work. It's the same. It's always the same. Time and industry doesn't change it. This is how it starts. And a start is a relative term, because you've got super early adopters, but then you've got I'd say we're still even in relative early adopter stage. We're nothing like early adopters, like No Use for Anger and Escape Velocity, and those guys who've been on it for, and Crypto Shell, and those guys who've been on it for time. But it's they're super early adopters. We're still in relative early adopter stage. We're still in relative underground stage. You know, it ties in with the whole ethos of jungle drum and bass as well, in a way, doesn't it? It's kind of almost
Yeah.
before it. And eventually things will shift one way or another. And then you may have an overground version, an underground version, but other platforms will appear. You know, we do need to stay agile. But that's one of the things in this game, full stop. Those who don't stay agile stagnate.
Right.
And we can't be part of the old boys club of junglists from early who are like, it should be like it used to be, much as it was an amazing time. You've got to move with the times. Change is happening. We've all got to adapt and adopt it.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because I'd really love to sort of get y'all's thoughts on two things. One, this whole lockdown and streaming has really been sort of an equalizer, right? So like, it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what kind of name you were, you're a noob on Twitch, you know, most of them, right? You know, No Use for Anger is the veteran, not John B, not Marky, you know. And so I am curious for your thoughts on how does that change things moving forward, or how does that, you know, what happens maybe as we start to go back to normal a little bit. And then the other thing is, this time has been so connecting for all of us. So in the same way it's an equalizer, it's been connecting all of us all over the world. And I'm wondering what y'all's thoughts are as far as what changes when we go back, and how do we keep the good things about that? So big questions, but
yeah. Do you want to take this first, Flex? Cool.
Yeah, so go on. I'll go on the first point. I think when the bigger names that are on here, the John B's and the Markies, like you mentioned, when those guys finally go back into a world where they're gigging again and they're traveling and they've got not as much time to do this, I think you know, I'm not going to include us in it because we're fairly new to it, but the people that have been doing it and are embracing Twitch now, I think that's going to just go on. I think it's a staple now. I think for us oldies, you know, we like to go out, maybe not as much as we used to anymore. So to have Twitch and to be able to do this to people, for me, I think it's great. You know, it's been the best thing for me. I can't tell you, it's been the best thing. It's been like it's been like therapy for me. It's been great. It keeps me sane. You know,
Flex is you've seen how regular Flex is now and how bang on it, and you know, totally the opposite to me. I'm like, yeah, I kind of come and go with this thing, and you know, I know full well that from a business plan point of view, that's probably not how to approach it. But Flex isn't doing it from a business plan point of view. It's purely, like he says, it's therapy, and it's so you know, he has been the absolute staple throughout that period of time when it was just us and on. He was like that before, you know. He was like bang bang, I'm on it every time, and entertaining our friends, which was a beautiful thing in itself, and keeping them together. And everyone was in the background on house party or whatever app that they were using at the time, and connecting with each other face to face while they were sort of bopping around their front rooms to Flex and to me sometimes, you know, as well when I went on. But like he says, it's been therapy. Bang on. But it has changed things, and it is that it started off like that, and obviously we've now discovered this whole world and connected with so many people that it would be daft not to move forward with that attitude, with knowing that and knowing how this thing works. And all this has done is this is just another expansion of the scene. Let's just keep it the scene, shall we? The worldwide thing. This is just another expansion of it. And you know, yes, once upon a time there was a period where everyone looked to London. Everyone looked to London. Yeah, okay, you might have been doing it from afar. The Australians might have been doing it from afar, but even we were doing it from half an hour's drive away. You know, we were still looking to London, so that's where it started, and it's spread. But London doesn't own it. Yes, it founded it, and without it, you know, all the love and respect for that, and that will never lose, and you've got to maintain that, because without it, we wouldn't be here, any of us. But this music belongs to the world now, and to different platforms, and as platforms change, it adapts. And I need more Mark on streams. Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
it is going to happen. We've been doing lots of sorting and setting up things, and trying to bring something over time.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
But
So-
that's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. I agree with Flex, John B, and the likes. Anyone who is heavy on the circuit is going to go back, and a lot of people are going to be back raving in person. So the times when they usually go on, they're not necessarily going to be doing it. But the likes of me and Flex very likely will, because you know, I certainly love to be a hermit. So I'm not going to be going to raves. You know, I've done a lot of raving in my time.
Same. I'm not 21 anymore.
That's it. So sporadically, yes, but if I can have a rave in my house, which is what I basically for the last decade, I've been getting everyone to come to my house to have a rave, so I don't have to go out.
Right.
They will turn up, and I'm never ready. I'm in the shower still at midnight, and everyone's been partying. You know, it's just a really good excuse. No use, preach it. Yeah.
Well, shoot, you do it at your house. The bathroom's clean. You can kick people out that are jerks. It's your bar, so you don't have to pay. You don't have to tip anybody, and you don't have to pay exorbitant prices. You don't have to drive anywhere. Your friends can stay too if they get messy or whatever. It's a nice, controlled environment. It's clean. I mean,
it's worth the cleanup in the morning. I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and come on, at once you hit 35, 40, you're not wrecking the place like you did before. So even the cleanup is like,
but even those 35, 40, 45, 50-year-olds, you still find that. I mean, I still find that after having gone to bed, and I probably go to bed at about 6 a.m.
Do you mean passed out? Yeah, I remember that.
Sorry, all right, yeah.
All right.
Go to bed.
having after the sleep, however the sleep happens, I wake up and often find some of these 35, 40, 50-year-olds still awake, and some of them have cleaned up the house. They're
nice.
Just they're active.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not all bad. It works out. It's a good deal.
Yeah. I definitely. Yeah. Well, and I think you guys are spot on as far as this sort of medium speaks to a sort of a desire that people have to connect and enjoy music and vibe out to it, like with a DJ, as opposed to just playlist or something like that, but don't necessarily want to go get wild on a Tuesday night. But interestingly, I think you guys are right too about the bigger names going back to gigging, and obviously, God, that life, you're traveling all the time, you're booked all the time, them having time to stream is going to be unlikely. But it was interesting because I was listening to BC. I was watching his Spearhead podcast live that he does on Twitch on Saturdays. And it was interesting because he said that going through this lockdown and doing his streaming, he has actually made the decision that he is going to gig less.
Yeah,
he has enjoyed the sort of change of pace, that he's had,
shifted, hasn't it? When you're gigging, you're not going to. You don't get up on a mic and start chatting with people,
right?
So his perspective was shifted. My perspective's shifted. I used to do a radio show when I lived in Perth a long time ago, but that was more playing a tune and then talking. I wasn't mixing. It wasn't a mixing. So we're now DJing and talking or doing something. You don't necessarily have to pick up the mic, but it's the interaction side. And I mean, Deadless the other day was saying it on Nordsky's Battle Show that you know, he's thinking, well, now I kind of want to be able to do this as well. So I, it's just creating another space. It's another type of DJing, interactive drum and bass
Yes.
DJing.
Yes.
And some people, people, will be doing it in lieu of some gigs for sure.
Mhm.
They'll, you know,
Mhm.
and especially as people wind down and want to gig a bit less.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's an addition platform now. It's
Yeah.
great. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about sort of, you know, this community and this worldwide, you know, these worldwide connections that we've all been sort of fostering. Flex wanted to pass this one to you. So, you know, what do you think about how that how does that look going forward? How does that work going forward?
So, what the connections that we've made through Twitch, worldwide connections that we mean?
Well, this, you know, this sort of scene and family, you know, that we have all like become a part of. Obviously, things will change when, like, what clubs are opening up in June, right, for you guys,
Yep.
and who knows what's going to happen with America, but you know, we know at some point that's going to happen worldwide. So, um, are there things worth keeping from what we have going on right now as far as this scene? And if there are, how do we keep them?
It's 100% worth keeping for me.
Mhm.
You know, and I can see myself continuing doing this for quite some time. You know, as time moves on, I don't envision doing anything else. It'd be nice to play a few gigs and do some real stuff, but we're not, you know,
Mhm.
we're not the scene guys on the circuit. You know, this is I inhabit this world at the minute. This is my world, and I'm really actually really enjoying doing it. So I think yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. So if you're talking about keeping something, great, I'll keep this. Move forward with this without a doubt. I'm hoping that we'll see some kind of Twitch party that moves on at some stage, whereby we can all get together and actually I can
Mhm.
meet some of these people that I only know as Curly.
Yes.
And you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Though? It'd be
Oh,
fantastic
yeah.
to actually put a face
Yeah.
to an online name, work out
Mhm.
what people actually look
I
like.
wanna hug you guys in person, you know,
Exactly. There you go.
not exclamation point hug. I want the real thing, you know.
Yeah, it's going to happen. These things, but there will be the crossover regardless. Yeah, big up DJ Viper as well. Exactly,
Yeah.
mate. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, No Use for Anger says TwitchCon is gonna be lit as fuck when it opens up.
Exactly
That's
that.
Damn
for
straight.
sure.
It's
That
going
is
to be
for
international.
sure.
It's going to have to be
Yeah.
international. Where are we going to hold what?
Right. Well, shoot, let's just do multiples. I mean, you know, I'm down. We'll plan them wherever somebody can plan them, and, you know,
Yeah.
if you can go to all of them, congratulations. And if you can't, hopefully there's one close enough to you that you can go to. Okay, so, um, uh, I wanna touch later on sort of, collabs and, like, how this whole technology may enable us to, um, you know, pool our resources and talents to push things that maybe we wouldn't have done before. But before we talk about that, I would like to rewind because Mark MK1, for everybody that doesn't know, um, let's talk about atmosphere.
Mhm.
Um, I know for me, and probably for other people in the chat, being in the US, atmosphere and knowledge were amazing for me in the 90s because, again, like you said, we were looking to the UK. Here, we were struggling, we were small, we were the underground of the underground, and all the music, you know, all of the sort of culture was all coming out of the UK. So
Yeah.
for us, you know, the internet was different then too. Like there wasn't this amazing ability to like chat with people real time, and you know, there wasn't massive information and stuff online. So these magazines were such lifelines for me. So yeah, talk to me about atmosphere.
Okay. I suppose what my involvement.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
okay. Well, Atmosphere started off. as a fairly local fanzine. When I say local, you know, London and here where we are in Essex and sort of home counties, wherever it could reach to. But I mean, right at the very beginning, I don't even know exactly how far it reached. We have to ask Forensic about that. Bigging up Jay Forensic, the founding or the founder of Atmosphere.
Founding father.
Founding
Yeah.
father, exactly. Founding father is so appropriate for Jay. Yeah, he started it up. The story that links to him starting up is quite cool, though. My best friend, so I now live back in my hometown. After living in Australia for 5 years, I came back and I moved back to essentially where I grew up. And my best friend lived directly across the road from me as I was growing up, like I'm talking from very, very young. And his older brother, who was considerably older, owned the local and the only video shop in town. VHS, we're talking. In fact, Betamax, when they first opened, I think they even had. That's how far back we're going.
Right.
And he also had a second branch up in a place called Southend, which is kind of the big town for our area, if you like.
Okay.
And it turns out that the first ever ATMs were being printed on the photocopier in there because the store manager was one Jay Forensic. When Rob wasn't there, my best mate's brother wasn't there, the manager, the owner, Jay'd be like, right, I'm having that photocopier, and he printed up all the mags, all the ATMs. I mean, I'm talking five some of the originals.
Have you got the original? Have you got some of the originals there? Have you? My
Yes.
gosh.
Yes.
But
History
you know what I don't
lesson.
do is
The originals.
Well,
Literally printed.
Let's look how original this one is. There we go.
There you go. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. I'm going to make you big if I can.
Issue 1. Ta-da! That's what it looked like. Issue 1. And you know, we're literally that's a local record shop. Yeah, tracks, hardcore, compiled by DJ Forensic and Dub Runner, House, compiled by Adam, Mad Ragga John. Oh, I've got no sound.
What year? Oh, what year is that?
That is December 92.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
December 92. And then, I mean, I can sort of give you an idea how it grew. So over time, it got a little bit more, you know, it went black and white glossy. It got staples. In fact, no, it had staples at the beginning. It had staples at the beginning. Then it grew in size to this B5 version.
Yes.
In fact, these are older ones. And then eventually it became the one that I'm going to break something in a minute. The one that you guys know. So the logo eventually changed. At which point was that? So it became ATM as opposed to Atmosphere.
Right.
And then by issue.
I mean, look at it. It has a barcode. It went totally legit.
Absolutely. And then the logo changed. And the logo was actually designed by someone from your side of the pond.
Nice.
That last logo, that was designed by, do you remember Echo? Mark Echo? The clothing, Echo?
Yes, yes.
It wasn't Mark Echo himself, it was his head guy. And he became good friends with Forensic when Forensic was touring over your side of the pond, and he did the logo. So the logo's got a bit of history, cool history to it as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So that's the mag, and my involvement. I mean, it started, like I say, in '92. So we knew it was a local thing, and both Flex and I were probably in fact, no, Flex was more prominent at that point than I was in anything. I was a fanboy.
So you were both raving and like listening by that point in '92.
Flex had already started by that point. I got into it that year. so the summer of '92. So a few months before the first magazine was released. So it was,
Nice.
I picked that one up and kept it ever since.
Nice.
What year did we first meet, Mark? What year? We didn't meet until right late on, did we?
No, we didn't meet till much later on. Actually, meet properly. Like, we probably acknowledged a nod in various gigs over a period of time, but Flex was already a local player on the scene. So I was actually going, while I was at college, I was going to this club where Flex would MC. It was like a normal club, like with cheesy music, and at the end of the night, they allowed this slot for jungle. So that must have been '94, '95 at that point. So that was a bit down the track, and we didn't even get to properly know each other till more like 2004. But that was when I was fully involved with ATM, whereas at the beginning there I wasn't, and my involvement came from I think it was '96, '97. There was Andy C was playing a gig in Birmingham with GQ emceeing with him, and I was a big GQ fan. Like, there's a lot of MCs that I'm not interested in hearing. I grew up on the AWOL tapes. My life changed because of the AWOL tapes, and going to those clubs in London. And GQ was that voice. For me, he was the voice of jungle. AWOL or World Dance, the two pinnacles as far as I was concerned. Me and my mate Darren wanted to go to this gig, and it was a wicked lineup. It wasn't just Andy C wasn't the big name he is now at that point. He was one of a bunch of really good DJs on this particular this event. But I just knew, because it was Andy and GQ, that kind of made us want to go, because we weren't going to have to listen to a load of nonsense from a load of other MCs.
Right.
And Darren said to me, well, why don't we just ask Jay Frenzik when we see him in the record shop, see if we can blag a guest list. So that's what happened. We went up to the record shop. That Vinyl Rhythm that was in issue 1. The local record shop, and Frenzik was there. Darren knew him to talk to better than I did, and said, any chance that you can get us a guest list for this gig in Birmingham? And Jay was like, yeah, I can do that. You've got to do something for me. You're going to have to write a review on a gig that goes into the mag. Fair, cool. At which point Darren went, Mark's going to do that. Like he volunteered me straight away. Darren was never going to write a review, trust me. And Jay said, well, meet me next week, let's talk about it. He said, can either of you use a camera? And Darren went, yeah, Mark's all right with a camera. Oh, all right, yeah, okay, so this is on me. But
Darren's just along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but he was going to drive. He was going to drive, and he's got to drive to Birmingham, so reasonable deal. Yeah, I mean, I used to do like nature photography when I was young, so I had my own camera and stuff like that. At which point, Frenzik was like, "Oh, wicked, okay, yeah, good." And he said, "There you go, got your guest list. Off you go." He came back from it. I brought these photos to him, and he was like, "Fucking hell, they're not bad photos." And then I gave him a review, and I think I'd used the word metaphorical, and Jay was like, "No one's ever written metaphorical in ATM." He was like,
Curly, let me just jump in. But the more you know Mark, right, you'll know why that word is important to him, right? And we'll laugh. He's laughing now because he knows he's very yeah. What's the word I'm looking for to describe you, man, when it comes to words and use of punctuation and God knows what else?
Pedantic, or just
annoying.
Annoying.
About right.
Even that's a big word. He even has to throw pedantic in there.
Yeah. Exactly. Annoying. There you go. Norbsky said it. Annoying. I grammar Nazi. See, yeah, I knew someone was going to go there.
We relate.
Yeah, exactly.
Same.
Exactly. I can't unsee it. And I mean, ultimately, I went from being this review guy and photographer. Right. I mean, that was my my way in. Even though I DJ'd some local little things and what have you, that was sort of my way in. And Jay, off the back of that, and at the time I was living in Brixton in London because I was going to university just down the road from there. So I had easy access to London, and Jay was like, do you want to do this on the regular? And I said, yeah, why not? So I used to just rock up to gigs on my own in London with my camera. The opening night of Fabric, I was like about the only person other than the security that was allowed all around the back. Like there's the guts of Fabric, like there's stairs up and down that no one else touches. That for I have my access all areas pass, and that I just did that over and over throughout my time at university. So it was a way of going to gigs for free,
right?
And
getting incredible access, clearly,
and getting brilliant access to places and to people. So I started to get to know people. And then at the end of university, I knew I was going to just spend about a year making some money and go traveling. And I hadn't decided what I was going to spend that year doing after university. And Forensic said to me, do you want to become my assistant editor and come and work for me? Now, when I say work for him, I mean, you know, you pay him about 20 quid a day, which... yeah, some people wouldn't be happy with per minute. But
I mean, but by this point, he could pay somebody. Like, even if it wasn't much, he could still pay somebody.
Precisely.
That's impressive.
So I just became his right-hand man. And look, I mean, he and I didn't really know each other well from this area. But I was like, okay, I'm doing this now. We're getting on quite well. I'm going to try my luck. Because I was his coffee boy. I'm be careful. I was going to use a different word to boy, but I appreciate it might be an inappropriate. But I was his little coffee boy. So off he'd send me to make coffee every half hour, and yeah, one day I just mustered up the guts to swap it for the gravy jar that happened to be really near the coffee jar. So I brought him up a cup of gravy and milk and put it in front of him. He's there on the phone. He's there on the phone to people. I can't remember who he was talking to, but that was what he did all day. You know, I did the work on one computer. I did all the writing and what have you, and he'd be on the phone just organising. And then off he goes. He sips his cup. But I'm sitting there. You know, got my back to him. I'm already pissing myself laughing, trying not to. And then, yeah, he drank it out, spat it all out. Actually, I think it was Tanya UMC was on his agent, DJ SS's missus at the time. And that was the real icebreaker with me and Jay. We became best mates after that. He couldn't believe I'd done it, but he saw the funny side. And yeah, we just became really close after that. And when I eventually went traveling, he was like, you know, wear ATM on your sleeve, rep the magazine. And when I was living in Thailand, we did ATM parties. At the Full Moon party, it was kind of branded ATM. And then when I eventually landed in Perth, and thanks to DJ Viper, became a staple there, and we started up the magazine there. Oh no, basically Jay said to me, because we were that close, you know, we become like brothers in a very short space of time. And he said, you're the one person that I trust the brand with. Do you want to do it there? And DJ Viper had said to me, oh, it'd be brilliant if we did something here. And I said, well, actually, we can have the ATM brand here. And that was it. So ATM Oceanic was born.
Nice.
And I was the editor of that.
So at that point, are we then talking really about like two linked magazines? Like you have
correct
UK and you have Oceanic out of Australia.
When I got to Australia, and it was like we were talking about earlier on with the, you know, everyone looking to London, they still had that attitude very much.
What year was that?
But there were no fools. So other people had passed through, tried to blag a DJ set at their events and were found out. Luckily, I had a brand behind me and actually brought some value to there. Or potentially was going to bring some value to there. And yeah, it became ATM Oceanic. because one of the things I realised was what they were doing. It wasn't, oh, we're looking to the UK. Yes, they still had that. We want the UK guys coming through. They're the big deal because that sold out parties. But the guys that were playing there are amazing, and the work they were doing was amazing. And I was like, this side of the world needs exposure, but they need exposure internally as well. I mean, Australia is a big country, but Perth is the most isolated city on the planet, and that's where I was living. And there was, you know, people would have this sort of self-fulfilling hierarchy thing going on as far as they were concerned. Oh yeah, our city's better than your city, our state's better than your state. And it was like, no, there's people doing wicked things statewide. And then you had the same thing with New Zealand. And there was a perception of New Zealand drum and bass heads were a bit up their own arses as well. This is the perception there over in Oz. You know, so what ATM Oceanic did was bring them together, and we would share our content with the magazine here in the UK. We would get content from UK magazine and put it out in our magazine out there, and just mix it up. I'm going
to jump in just a little bit, right? So still to this day, and we've known each other quite some time now, still to this day.
Real quick, can I pause you just for 1 second? What year was that? What year was that you started up ATM Oceanic?
Traveling in 2000 and at the beginning of 2001, I arrived in Perth at the end of 2001, and me and Viper kicked off the magazine. I'd say we ended up living in the same place with our housemates. We started maybe May 2002 with ATM Oceanic.
Nice. Nice. Okay, sorry, Flex. Go ahead.
No, you're cool. I was just going to say, so it's still to this day, he comes up with a story that I've never heard or that he's never told before. Well, there's honestly, man, you could keep us on for about 7 hours, Curly, and we're not going to do that to you, but we could, right? And but my
I'll just have you back.
But listen, MK1's been there through the before Pendulum were Pendulum. He's been there through the birth of that whole explosion of them onto the scene. Before El Hornet was El Hornet, and the list can go on. And there's probably lots of stories that he won't tell.
El Hornet was El Hornet at that point.
Was he? Okay. The point being is, there's some really good quality stuff that happened around that time, wasn't it? You know, it was a phenomenal period.
I know I'm lucky, and I'm in a unique position to have been someone who was around, living in London in that when jungle was really taking hold, and then being in Perth at the time that Pendulum changed the game. So first of all, they were just kids that used to come up and chat to me, you know, when I was DJing the club, give me their CDs.
Nice.
But they changed electronic music, not just drum and bass. They changed, you know, Rob Swire's a genius, love him or hate him. Absolute genius, and he changed what was possible. You know, to have the Don of the king of bass say, all right, I'm down in tools because of what this kid's done with Dillinger, is you know, Dillinger was untouchable and still is for his sound and for what he did. But for him to go, you know what, this guy has done something with production that hasn't been done. I know, you know, people have different feelings about those guys, but what they've done for music across the board and electronic music is second to none. No other acts that I know.
And you know, everyone has a flavor, right? Like everyone has preferences, but you, whether love it or hate it, you cannot deny that when someone does something truly new, I mean, that's hard to do. You know, like the scene had been around for how long by that point? And, you know, they innovated, and you got to respect that, whether you enjoy it, you know, whether it's your favorite or not, you have to respect the sort of creativity that it takes to innovate.
Yeah. And the copycats that followed, you know, that's where it falls on its arse. It's what followed and the attempted versions of the same thing, and that dilutes the whole thing, rather than that being on its own and being, this body of work that's incredible. I'm talking about Hold Your Colour specifically. You just got all the copycats coming in and diluting it. It's the same with the whole foghorn thing, right?
Yes.
A couple of them, wicked.
Right.
But I mean, imagine if every tune was like shadowboxing, the original.
Right.
If every tune was like it, shadowboxing, incredible. And it's the foghorn of a ship. It's literally the sample of a ship being used. If everyone did that constantly, if there was just constantly loads of shadowboxing tunes, it'd be like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. And shadowboxing itself has been, diluted right down as a result. And that's what people did with pendulum music. That's what people do now. There's loads of copycats, but the ones who do it right are the ones that tend to stand out.
Well, and I think that's true probably in any kind of music, but I've never paid as close of attention to music as any other kind of music as I do to drum and bass, and jungle. But I think that's true across the board, no matter what time it is, right? Like in 1995, there were people that were trying to copy, someone else's sound, and it was lesser quality. They didn't have maybe the same passion or skill or whatever. And I think that's true, all throughout. Somebody hears something and it's captivating and they see it, sort of exciting people, and somebody goes, I want my tune to have that same kind of attention. Why don't I try my hand at this same sound? And then, you get all these lesser quality versions of something.
The same. I don't know. I don't know the stats on it. Maybe the percentages are the same. It's just that we were so much more, we were so small then. We were so much more niche, and people cite it with pendulum because their sound exploded and reached a bigger audience. So that inspired more people to produce. And technology has changed. So maybe the percentages are very similar to back in the day, but it just seems like there's more copycatting now. I don't know. I felt like it was a big deal, the copycatting on the back of them, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, I think technology and digital is probably a big part of that, right? Because, 95, 96, 99, 2000, we're still talking about vinyl, and it costs money to press vinyl. It is a major investment to press vinyl. You have to go through major labels for the most part to get vinyl press, and major for drum and bass, But so that's a filter, right? That's a big filter for music. Whereas now you don't need a record, you don't need a label necessarily. And so I think there's less of a filter, which maybe means that you're getting more copycats out there. You're hearing more, whatever. But yeah, I mean, love it or hate it, access is kind of a double-edged sword, right? Like the sort of accessibility that any producer has now to get their stuff out there is great, because you have people that might never have been seen before. But at the same time, you have some people that maybe aren't really ready necessarily that are putting their things out.
This whole COVID experience is is changing people's perspectives as well. Now, music needs to be out there, it needs to be heard.
Yes.
Producers need to be paid. There's only so much time they can do their work for nothing. And one of the key ways of getting paid the key way of getting paid over the last decade has certainly been gigging. So you accept that you make music to establish yourself as a player in the game and create demand for you to appear in a gig.
Right.
And then you get paid that way.
Right.
And it's peanuts when it comes to what are getting paid in royalties and for the actual music itself. But times are shifting, and like there's been a lot of, I don't know what it's been like in the States, but there's been a lot of news here. So people's ears are now pricking up when it comes to the NFT aspect. I don't know if people are going to have to go and Google that if it doesn't mean anything to you, but it's essentially turning the ability to turn your music into attach cryptography, so cryptocurrency almost, to to an original file. So an original file can suddenly have value again. I mean, the way I explained it to Clayton from Trouble on Vinyl is what it was. Think of it as DAT tapes and dub plates and records, right? So with a DAT tape, you could actually scratch in there original version, and then you can say, right, I'm going to give 20. So that original DAT tape is the one that sits at the Music House, at the dub plate cutting studio. That is the original. It's a physical copy, and everything else comes from that copy. And let's say the person who's made the tune has decided they're going to break off 20 dub plates to prominent heads in the scene, your Groove Riders, Fabios, Goldies, Mickey Finns, etc., etc. And each of them is going to get a unique number. And those guys are going to go, right, off we go. I'm going to play these dub plates, happy days. 6 months later, the records get pressed up. Everyone can buy that record. Right. So the value changes. You've got the value of the music. Everyone can have the record. It's totally accessible. But no one has that dub plate that Groove Rider touched, that Mickey Finn touched. And no one has the original other than the creator, right? So if I was going to sell them to you in a marketplace, that original DAT tape would be the most expensive. And then those other ones would have their own level hierarchy of expense in terms of what people consider to be the biggest DJ that touched them. So they've got more value. So you can now sell those on, right? How, and that's tangible. That's a tangible, real world concept with a physical item. How the hell do you apply that same process to digital files? And NFTs, if you, from the annex, same with artwork. So someone's just sold some digital artwork for something like 60 million or 6 million? I can't remember. It's a lot of money, whatever. Wow. Big money. Here's a good one. Someone bought a Banksy and then they filmed themselves setting fire to it, or took a photo of themselves setting fire to it. The value of the Banksy was, let's say, 50 grand. The value of the photo of them setting fire to the Banksy was 300 grand. So instantly, but it's a photo. So how the hell do you claim it? Like, you chuck it on Twitter and everyone's got it. So what these NFTs are doing are basically hard coding, if you like, an original, unique signature to it. So it's the same file, but it's the original. So now suddenly these have got value. So where I was going with that is people who are producing now, like I said earlier on, we've got to constantly move with the times. We cannot stagnate. I mean, I've got all the love for vinyl in the world and all the love for people continuing to play vinyl. Where it falls down is where I hear them digging their heels in.
Guys, give me 1 sec. I'm going to be right back. Keep on talking, though, because I'm going to be able to hear you, okay? I'll be right back.
Cool. So the vinyl thing is brilliant, and I love that, and I love vinyl. I've got my own vinyl back here, and I'll never lose that. Where was I going? If you do that, I'm going to completely forget. Jeez. Now you've gone and done it. Flex, help me out.
I'm going to big up some people, man. Big up your mums. Easy Praise, Scallion, Viper, all the massive. No Use is still on there, mate. All the crew. It's good to have everybody locked on, man. Yes. I get what you were saying, though, man. So I'm
glad you did move on to that, because I was going to say that wasn't a help. That just made me forget even more. What I was
that's it.
About.
So
can anyone, I've got short-term memory for some reason. I don't know why that would be. So if anyone else in the chat can kick off what we were talking about, or if it was boring. Yes.
You're basically talking about digital.
Digital fingerprints. Digital fingerprints. Thank you, Norbski from the opening door. Digital fingerprints. Yes. So vinyl, it's easy to work it out, but where do we go with digital? And where do the producers still have? Yes, thank you, Cupcake here. Exactly. So this is putting some power back into producers' hands and giving them some value back, the ability to retain value over time. If those digital files get sold on and people sell them on because other people want to spend the money and say, I'm playing the same digital file that Groove Rider played. That's just an example, doing the dubplate, that example. It doesn't have to be. It can just be what the first original file that was created by the creator, whoever made the piece of music. That doesn't help either, Shay. I've got a chat now because Curly's having a small
I'll tell you what we'll do. So we'll throw it out to the chat, man. Has anyone got any questions for me or MK?
Ooh.
Throw it out there, man. Anything at all. Yeah, dubplate culture Viper's talking about there as well, man. It does. NFT does enable digital dubplate culture. For real.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Thank you,
too much coffee for me, so sorry about that.
Same here. I'm chatting nonsense. But Viper's here. NFT enables a digital dubplate culture. Yeah,
right.
With value
right.
that can be passed on and that can increase over time.
Right.
So stops the originator losing ownership.
Well, and it kind of reminds me or brings me to the thought of like DRM, right? Nobody really talks about DRM anymore, but that was a really big deal at sort of the onset of sort of digital files and digital purchasing. And I'm glad to see that now there seems to be, or maybe it's a self-select and that's just the people that I hang out with. There seems to be more of a desire to actually pay for digital as opposed to just, grabbing it off of, a torrent site or something like that. But, NFT is something that could even give value to just maybe not even originals, but to give value to like legitimate sales. Absolutely. As opposed to,
proof that it's a file that has doesn't have to be the only original, but proof that it is essentially a purchased one as opposed to a non-purchased one.
Right. Right.
How you're going to govern and police that is a whole other thing. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be trying. You're going to have some people that are going to go and get free stuff where they can, some people that are going to go and buy stuff, some people that are going to do a mixture of the two. We get into that grey area when it comes to, well, I own that on vinyl. I own all these on vinyl. All I want is a digital copy for convenience now. But, I've already bought that. I've already done my time. I've already blah, blah, blah. So you're like, okay, well, give me a digital file, go on. But it doesn't always work like that. So, as long as the music's being heard, crypto-locked mixers, as long as the music's being heard, I think that's the most important thing. If it's not being heard, that's no good.
Crypto-locked mixers, I can see getting hacked as you're, out gigging. Someone in the audience hacks your mixer, and then then you're screwed, metaphorically. Bringing that word back, metaphorically. So what, we were bigging up the chat. Let me just say really quick, let me thank for the subs, Space Fanatic, Darth Liquid, and Dizzy. You guys are fantastic. I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you in the chat, and Mark and Flex for coming here and letting me do this thing that's been very therapeutic for me as well. If you had told me in March that I would be doing this, I would have told you no fucking way. Like, there's no way I'm putting my face on camera for the whole freaking world to see. And here we are. I love how we're sort of talking about culture, and how that has, one of the nice surprises for me after being sort of out of closely following the scene for about 20 years is now there isn't just a looking to London. London is the best, London is the measure. Everyone else is lesser. There's definitely this more global perspective and like legitimacy for, producers everywhere, events everywhere, DJs everywhere. And I like the idea that, ATM was sort of early on in that, really recognizing that, London, the UK wasn't the only thing worth writing about. It wasn't the only thing worth, you know, worth producing.
Yeah. Well, I'll give credit to
Yeah.
friends that he was already sending the magazine around the world before I even went travelling and ended up in Australia and did one there.
Yeah.
So the Australians already knew it when I turned up.
Right.
In fact, it was our late friend DJ Roughcut. When I turned up in Perth, I just walked into a local record shop. And not when I say a record shop, I'm talking like a chart music record shop, and they had like a little dance music area. And he just happened to be opening a box. There was just this dude who worked at this shop who looked like, I'm talking HMV kind of style. I don't know if you have HMV, but what your main record store, commercial record shop was.
Like Virgin Records.
Virgin Records, those sorts of things. Yeah, it was that sort of a place, basically. So the way I saw him, he was just a member of I don't want to belittle that, but he was a member of staff. There was nothing more to that. He was opening a box, and he was taking out CDs and putting them on the shelf, and they were I think the first drum and bass arena CD. And as he was taken out, I was like, oh wow, what's the chances? I just said it to this guy. I was browsing through some tunes, just said it to this guy. Oh wow, drum and bass arena CDs. I was like, how bizarre. We write content for these guys because we used to provide drum and bass arena with their content right at the very beginning.
Nice.
You might not know.
That's a nice little tidbit to know.
Yes. And at which point he was like, really? Who are you? And I said, I work for this drum and bass magazine, jungle drum and bass magazine called ATM. And he was like, Atmosphere. Which was the same reaction I got from, who was that? I can't remember. I'll come back to that. I'm sure that'll come up. And I was like, it shocked me that he knew it as Atmosphere because the name had already changed. If you know it as Atmosphere, you're old school, right?
Yes. Yes.
And he said that, and he was like, yeah, I'm a drum and bass DJ at a local club. I play every week. Once he found out that I was linked with Atmosphere, with a brand, he was like, oh, he said, you need to meet our manager, who's DJ Viper in the chat now. And that kicked things off. But they already knew ATM. This was the point, ATM had already got out there, and that's all down to Forensic, Jay Forensic.
We've been trying to get Forensic to come on and do a mix and be an interview, man. But he's yeah, we're still trying, man. He's and he lives around the corner. He's 2 minutes around the corner from Mark, but we'll try and get him on. We'll try and get him on our 174 thing coming up, man.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Okay, so let's talk about MK1. I think one of the first conversations you and I had, Norpsky had said that we should talk. And we were sort of talking about the magazine, and like I used to edit drum and bass for a section for a very small little local thing here, and do some reviews and stuff for websites and things like that. And Norpsky said we should talk, but sort of what is the it seems like maybe you're still kind of spearheading ATM.
Yeah.
And what is the future you're thinking of doing with the brand?
Sure. Good
question, Curly.
The three of us are spearheading. Yeah, I suppose you could say I'm spearheading it because that was my position. So, and I've still got a lot of love for the brand. So the one out there was my baby. The one here was Jay's baby. But yeah, without Flex and Norpsky, this wouldn't be happening. And we've got some irons in the fire. There's only so much that I will put out there until it's because I don't want to be just blowing hot air. I'm always very conscious of that. So until something is tangible enough to talk about, I won't mention it. But we have irons in the fire. We have things being worked on. I mean, there you go. Viper says secrets, shush. So Viper and I are still business partners, and he's down based in Perth. Again, we lived, well, not together, but we both. I worked with him in Vietnam 3 years ago. So our connections continued. We're 20 years down the track now. So yeah, we are working on a few things in the digital realm, if you like, because that's where things are moving now. We see what's going on here. We see what people are doing here. We used to be DJ Gallion. Shaving the head is not always a choice. I mean, sometimes you do it just to make it look less fuzzy, right?
Hey, bald is beautiful. Let's just get that out there while we have a moment.
Viper's the same. Viper's the same. I tell you, he's just as bald as Fletcher. And Forensic is now thinking about it. He used to have long hair. He used to have hair like Mickey Finn.
Norbsky's the lone holdout, huh?
Yeah. She's not shaving her head yet. Yeah, the way I'm looking at it is just being the glue for all these things going on. We don't want to monopolize anything, but we do want to create unity.
Yes.
And connection. There at the moment, there's so many disparate elements. And we're looking to, from a sum of the parts perspective. There's too many things are too disjointed. And when I say too many, I mean they shouldn't be. They don't deserve to be. They deserve to be connected. The scene deserves them to be connected. There's a very the stuff that I hear going on in the States is stuff that I wasn't exposed to. Now, had I moved to the States back in 2001 and done an ATM there, maybe that would be a different story, right? But I did this thing in Australia. And it's simply because we did it once. And that was done in print. Print costs a fortune. It crippled me, crippled my bank account. But it was all done for the love. It crippled Forensic's bank account when he was running it. But everything's digital now. Things have changed. There's more opportunity out there. And
you mean you can't get rich in drum and bass?
And you certainly can't get that rich doing a drum and bass magazine. So yeah,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So yeah, what we do know is that, I mean, Forensic and I, a year and a half ago, just a bit before lockdown, in December, there was a reunion night, rage reunion at Heaven nightclub in the centre of London, which was where I think it was where Forensic first went and fell in love with the music. But it was where it was where Goldie went and first fell in love with the music. I'm pretty sure when Chemistry and Storm took him there. Rage was Groove Rider and Fabio in 93-ish, right? So there was a Rage reunion, a big deal, which meant all the heads came out. And Jay and I went out for the first time in about a decade. I mean, I literally mean that. We walked past Zinc at one point, who we knew well. He just sort of acknowledged us, walked up onto the stage, then he was staring at us both, and you just saw the penny drop, penny drop, and it's like, fucking hell, like, it's that long ago that he had, a relationship that was reasonably close. You just forget people, and people change a little bit, of course. But it was while we were there, seeing these guys, because as far as I was concerned, the last time they saw us, we were ATM and we were running it one way or another in one part of the world or another. So they just, look, you guys need to re-release content. Obviously, Knowledge put out the book. 25th, not 25th. I don't know, whatever. But the book was called, which is brilliant. And people are just like, yeah, people are bringing content back. You guys have got this content somewhere, sure. It's like, you say that. Zip discs. I don't know if I've got a zip drive.
You're taking me back.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was like, come on, you guys have got our history in your vaults somewhere. Bring it back. So Jay and I were kind of like, yeah. So we want to bring stuff back, but with a new stylee, right? There's got to be a new flip on it. There's got, because the channels have changed.
Well, I think, talking about that, I think that loops us back to what we talked about before about how do we sort of keep what's good and keep this connection, worldwide. Like what you described in Australia, almost identical to the States. Like
Yeah.
little scenes all over the place, or not even necessarily little, but not connected because of a huge geographical, mostly because of a huge geographical situation, right? And so, the magazine was able to bridge the gap, and sort of elevate the entire thing. And I think that similar would have happened in the US, but this is such an opportunity, I think, for ATM to come and to really shine in keeping those connections going, expanding those connections, sort of giving more a deeper access. That's one thing I really like about doing this is, um, I don't know you guys very well, but by having you on here, we get to have a chat. Other people get to watch, participate, etc. And we all get to know each other better and hopefully, really kind of cement bonds and increase bonds. And I'm
Right.
super excited for what you guys could do in the future to not only maintain the connections that we've all been forging in this insane time, but to even expand them. It's
Absolutely. Yeah,
exciting.
we just want to facilitate that. It's always been about facilitation of spreading the word of multiple crews. I mean, I'm conscious we use the words ATM crew, but the crew thing was always a big deal for me when I was young. I wanted to be part of the Fantasia crew. People were wearing Fantasia crew jackets, and I wanted one, and I'd never been to Fantasia, but the word crew was synonymous with the rave scene, the underground rave scene, back in '92. So we've taken that on, but as far as we're concerned, I mean, that's me, Flex, and Nordski, and Shay-Z, and Viper there in the background, and Forensic in the background as well, but it's also everyone that passes through. It's just our signature on the drum and bass family, but yeah, it's not to ring fence us off in any way. It's just we just want to continue representing it because of all its history.
Yeah.
Listen, when we spoke about it before, we both sat down and we said, what do we want to do with this? We've got this brand. Some people know it. A lot of the new kids don't have a clue what ATM is at all. And it's about trying to bring that whole thing back to a point where can people understand that it's rooted with so much history within the scene. It was the first underground magazine that there was. The first one I ever saw. Used to get it handed out when you come out of a rave. It was there. It was great, man. So yeah, for me, it was just about bringing that back to everybody, really, in whatever form it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because you mentioned the crew thing. I didn't even think about that when I titled the episode and when I did my my intros. But yeah, I mean, same for me. I didn't get into it until '95, but crew was a big thing. Being I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be gatekeepy, but like being connected and working together with people to the point where you are a crew together doing it. Um, it matters, and I feel like we have a Twitch DMB crew here.
We do.
Absolutely.
Exactly
Absolutely.
that.
See, this is one of the channels, one of the many channels, and your show is one of the shows. Your 916 Junglist show.
Yes.
They're standalone shows with their own brand, and that's a great thing. We want all of those. We won't want to go in and have any kind of takeover approach. It's like we want to join the two of you together for some reason, and not rely on that connection being purely through either chance or okay, we've got lists in here, so you can kind of work your way around it. But we didn't find our way around it for a few months, as we spoke about earlier. And from channel to channel, from social network to social network, etc. There's so many, but there's no unifying system that makes it that brings it all together and makes it easy for people to navigate around.
Right.
A lot of it you find by chance nowadays, and we're a family scene. We always have been. The strength is in numbers. The numbers
Yes.
have increased, but keeping that family vibe is also important. And
Yeah.
you know, if we can point you in the right direction, job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm totally with you. I love, obviously, like, 916 Junglist, they just had their year of DJs not DJing, which is such an amazing, it's such an amazing stream. Billy and, all his folks have really dedicated such time and energy to, like, the investigation that Billy does of the topics that he talks about, and they're timely topics, they're important topics for, that we need to know as streamers in this crazy environment, right? That most of us are not used to. And, he does that. He does interviews, all sorts of things. And I definitely look to him as, an inspiration. But at the same time, none of us are competing with each other because we're all doing different things. No one can do what I do because I'm the one doing it. It's this whole streamer thing. So much of that is about the personality of the streamer. I I enjoy the streams that I enjoy the most, that I'm the most loyal to. So much of it has to do with who is doing the streaming and how they present it and how they present themselves. And when you look at it like that, it instead of it being competitive, it becomes more complementary. How do we work together? How do we build each other up? How do we pool our resources and talent so that the sum is greater than the parts?
Well, see, everyone's their own show. So it's like a television station, right? There's shows after shows after shows. They're not all pulled together by the same people. But there's someone in the middle joining them together and making sure they connect and chucking some adverts in between, which help promote products within. Okay, in the case of television, there's an ambiguity to it, but in the case of something, a scene where we've got a little bit of involvement in it, we can make sure people are seeing the right thing in the right place at the right time.
Yes.
And that's that, and maybe they're increasing sales, selling NFTs. Who knows? Big up DJ Stitch Jones, by the way. That's,
yeah, I did see that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on here. And I'm glad you mentioned it again, Stitch, because I really want to highlight this. As someone who grew up in a smaller, more secondary city that was 5 or 6 hours away from a large scene and shows, your magazine kept me informed and motivated. Absolutely. I mean, especially over here, we were so far away, but your magazine helped me know, what do these people look like? What are the events like? What are the new records like? I mean, it's who is working with who.
I love that. I love that story.
Yeah.
Ralph Liquid was saying he actually flew. He'd get a flight to go and pick up records and our magazine. You actually have to fly to do it. It's amazing. Stories like that. I'd like to say know who people are. In fact, one of the ways that I built good relationships was purely through I don't know whether it was luck, it was just things falling into place. But if you remember the Who Shot You sections.
I was just going to say, Who Shot You, man? Get one out. You got one in the mag, get one out, man. They were brilliant.
Every DJ wanted to be in it. And it got to the point where I was the one that was doing the photos, which is why I got to know so many people and work. I worked for lots of different drum and bass heads doing artwork and photography because I'd met them through that. Totally separate from the mag. But the Who Shot You sections, for those who don't know, became so ridiculously popular that some of the DJs that we idolized would probably a bit too. Oh, there you go.
Let me make you bigger in the.
Yeah, so we used to make them hold up a magazine, have their picture taken, and just everybody, the who's who in the scene, used to hold the mag up. And that was the first, when I used to go to the mag, that'd be the first place I'd go to, was the Who Shot You's fantastic section.
The DJs would come to me to ask for the photos. They'd be like,
nice.
I remember Shabba D coming up to me once, and he was as though I didn't know who he was. And he was like, I'm Shabba D, take a photo of me with a mag. Give us your mag, because I always carry a mag around with me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that became a bit of a cult thing as well. Like every DJ and MC, everyone in the game wanted to be in Who Shot Ya, which was was
but
quite.
it was quite mad. So when I wasn't MCing for Forensic, because I used to MC for Forensic originally. That's what I did for ATM. And
Yeah, I think
on
you
the
should do
times
your
when
shut
yeah,
flex.
no, man. But one of the times when I wasn't working or emceeing for him, I used to go to the clubs and do the Who Shot You stuff. Used to take a camera, take a mag, and you could walk up to anybody, walk up to Fabio and Groove Ride. You know what I mean? You'd have trouble walking up to have a conversation with them now in a club. They're nice guys, but you'd put the mag straight in there, bang, picture, and
Right.
it's an instant icebreaker. It was fantastic. Used to love it.
Yeah.
Used to love it.
Yeah.
Plus, used to get into clubs free, and yeah, it was all good. Bonus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love that. Love
Big
that.
upgrade.
Yeah. That's the sort of connecting the disparate parts is so critical. I mean, I remember probably very shortly after I got involved in the scene, email mailing lists were the thing then, right? That was like before bulletin boards, before everybody had a website, that was how we communicated with each other. And across Texas, nobody had like a master list sort of events, right? And we were crazy enough to drive 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours to go to different events. And, I was like, I need to put together a list. And I started doing it, every week. Curly's Ravorama.
There you
And
go.
it was such a cool way to make sure that everybody knew what was happening all across this scene and bring people together. And yeah,
It was quite
that's
it was quite a thing for us. I recall just going to places and seeing people that you look up to. Like Mark will tell you stories about his association with Mickey and people like that. People that you look up to or you did when you went out raving. And there was a point where I remember Jay took me to Music House to get dubs cut. And that was like nothing else. I've never experienced anything quite like it. You're like, there's Fabio and Groove Rider. That's Dillinger. And there'd be people queuing, like all these names queuing to get their dubs cut. And it was before they played out. And it was
yeah.
glad I got to experience these pockets of that scene. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
an immense thing. It really
God,
was.
am I turning green? Because between Mark talking about being there at the opening of Fabric and then you talking about Music House, I mean, shit, I even knew about Music House here, and I mean, what I wouldn't have given to stand in line for hours because Groove Rider came in and moved to the front of the queue. Just
It was though, but it was. You'd have all the names queuing, and then Groove Rider would turn up with his bag of dats, and he'd just be straight in the door, sat down, everyone else wait, and you'd be there all day sometimes to get.
yeah.
The novelty would wear off pretty quick, Curly. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So
But not only that,
you would
at
be
that time,
Grooves in. No.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but at that time,
To the front of the queue.
and it's like a dealing place as well. Who's got what? Is there any chance I can get a copy of that? And yeah, it was quite a thing.
It's
Well,
a struggle to get to the front door without being stoned. Tell you that.
Yeah, and that as well. Yeah.
R.I.P. Leon, like Naughty Vibes, big up Naughty Vibes. R.I.P. Leon Shoe, Music House. R.I.P.
Mhm.
We lost
Yeah.
him half a year ago.
Yeah.
Really sad. Lovely.
I from everything I've heard too, Music House was sort of like, the barber shop or the record shop. Everybody's getting together and it's a place to exchange stories and, talk about sort of issues of the scene, commonalities, that sort of thing. And I mean that, it's an important spot culturally, to the development of the scene, to the spirit, of it. Um, Shoot, what was I going to say? Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. It'll come back if it does matter. But yeah, Entity says, "I'll take a dub of what he's cutting, please." Right, you and everybody else.
Exactly that. Come on, there was some big tunes that passed through there. Some
I mean,
groundbreaking tunes that passed through there.
I would just like for Groove Rider to go through those DATs again and decide to actually publish some of the things that he never,
man.
ended up publishing.
Groove's held on to stuff for a long
Oh my
time.
God.
A long time.
He's
Did you catch El Hornet's show a couple of weeks back where he played the first play of Slam
oh my
on
God.
Radio 1? Did you see that? And they
Right?
rewound it about, I don't know, about 9 times. It was just amazing. Amazing.
When I met Groove Rider, he was playing at the club where we had our residency, and I was unimpressed at the time. I thought he had an attitude, but I was 20 something years old, not really thinking about what it would be like to be a traveling DJ and, all of that stuff. But to hear that recording, and guys, you have to try and look it up. To hear that recording, I mean, Groove Rider is like a kid, man. He's like a little
Yeah.
kid on Christmas morning, flipping out over a tune made by these 3 young guys all the way in Australia. And he's losing his shit.
What was hilarious about it is they told him that he can't play it on air, and he was like, "I do what I want. I'm Groove Rider, man." And he played it again and again and again and reloaded it again. It was great. It was really.
I played that. Rob sent that to me. Sent Slam to me when there was a Ronnie Size set, and so Ronnie was passing through. Ronnie and Dynamite were passing through Perth, and Rob and Gareth and Paul were all living here in the UK by that point. So I was kind of their, I was lucky enough to be their kind of Perth conduit. I was the one that they would send dub plates to play in Perth, which was their hometown. A bit weird. English guy, moved from England.
Right.
Pendulum's music in their hometown while they're back in England. So a bit weird, but I was lucky with that. And so there was this set coming up. And I was playing immediately before Ronnie Size. So I was chatting to Rob on AIM, and for those who remember AIM, and I said, "Have you got anything that I can hit hard with before Ronnie steps up?" Mm-hmm. So he sent me Slam, and that was the first. I think that was before Groove Rider had even played it. It wasn't a finished version, and yeah, I mean, that was a moment of magic from my point of view. The rewind that got, and I played it a year or so later because the set had been recorded, and I played it to Rob and Gaz over here when I'd come back here for a while, and they listened to it, and they were like, "Fucking hell, that got a big rewind." And then I played it again, and they were like, "You played nearly the whole tune." And I was thinking to myself, I bet they're thinking, I really hope no one else has recorded that. But no one else has recorded it, luckily. But I did play a lot of the tune because it just, with the long intro as well, the 2-minute intro. Yeah.
That was
the Groove Rider thing. I can imagine.
Yeah. I mean, what a moment. Like, okay, he wasn't supposed to play our tune, but listen to what he did. Fuck that rule. I'm so glad he broke it, I mean, okay, and let's just say while we're at it, Norbsky says, I've got nothing but nice things to say about Groove Rider. I want to get that clear too. I was 20 years old, thoughtless, thought I was the hot shit, so yeah, I'm fully willing
don't get me wrong,
to.
Groove Rider is
I'm fully willing to say my opinion is,
No, you're cool.
lame.
Groove is quite a character. And he's huge as well. I mean, I'm small anyway, so it's everyone's huge to me. But he's a big character in the scene, and he's got. If anyone's going to stand there and go, I gave birth to this, and I played stuff from early on, it's Groove. So yeah, I know what you mean, Curly. He's very. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but he's cool though. He's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's fucking Groove Rider. Who the fuck am I? Like.
No. You're not having to go at Groove Rider when he jumps the queue at Music House. You're just like, you just feel sorry for yourself. You know that he deserves it. It's like,
right
after you, fucking, because you're literally the one. You're about to come in. Your guy comes out, and you're literally about to go into the cutting studio. Groove Rider turns up, and you know that it could be could be who knows how long, because everyone's cut in real time and listen to it in real time.
Well, and let's be honest. Thank God Groove Rider cut all the plates that he did. Otherwise, so much of this music would just be literally lost to time. Like we never would have heard it. So, God bless him for pushing the scene the way he did, pushing the music the way he did.
It's called The Godfather for a reason.
Absolutely. Fabric opening night and Music House, amazing, absolutely amazing.
While we're on that, because you might be
Yeah.
interested in the Fabric opening night, we've got a feature thing that we're going to be doing soon. The three of us, with Nordsky as well, obviously. I've always got to include Shay Z in there because Shay is our man in the background who makes sure things are working as they should be.
Producer extraordinaire.
Exactly. We've got a feature thing coming up soon, which is it's flashback, is what we're calling it, and we are going to basically focus on gigs from the past and get everyone involved. And for those who remember, we'd like to open it up down the track for other people to come in and do the same thing under that show name or something. We haven't defined it specifically, but we have got the first one, which is going to be at the end of April. And you saying about Fabric is a thing that made me think of it, because I would that particular period, like Fabric when it opened for me, that's my definition of Fabric. Fabric's been going up until last year, right? I know it had its period off, but it's been constantly going. So everyone's vision of Fabric is going to be different. My vision of Fabric is so if I'm playing what we might call a Fabric set, I'd be playing things like breakbeat era stuff, Ronnie Size, because that was the first night. I think it was a V Recordings event with breakbeat era as the live PA. That was the opening night of Fabric. It was mental. In my version of it, but yeah, I just wanted to give a little plug for the feature show coming up. We're going to be focusing on specific gigs from back in like our definition of it, and like I say, expanding out to other people.
MK, while you're plugging, you might as while you're plugging, you might as well plug 174 too, man.
Before we move on to 174, because I do want to plug that. So this flashback, are you going to be like DJing as well? Like, hey, this is the kind of music we heard that night.
It's going to be sets from then, but there's going to, the way these things are going to develop, and obviously we're lucky to have Norbsky on board. Second to none presenter, knows our D&B inside out. So we're in a good position to talk about it as well as and get people to do what you're doing, right? This same thing, talking about these things as well as just playing the music, I think is a great thing to be able to do. So yeah, we're gonna talk about old times, and not necessarily old times. Some of these might be much newer, much more up to date. I mean, I'd love to do what I would consider a traffic set or a drum club set. These are things from Perth. Those names don't mean anything, but they'll be defined by a period of time and the stuff that I would have played then, for example. So when 25th of April, I believe, is the first one, Cupcake here, the first flashback session.
Wicked. 2 days before my birthday. I'm into it.
There you go.
Get in.
Yes.
And hopefully, Flex and I can be in the same place for that, or some.
Yes, that would be nice.
Wouldn't it be lovely?
Yeah.
To see each other in the flesh again.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about 174. So, I'm participating in it, but I don't know the whole origin and all of that well enough. So Flex, you wanted to talk about it. Tell us.
Yeah, so 174 event is to celebrate obviously the date that it comes up plus the BPM of the music that we love. So yeah, we've got a whole plethora of people. Curly, you're on, and a whole mixture of others I'm not going to do, but I'm not going to I'm going to stay tight-lipped about some of it. But I know that am I right in saying there's some kind of announcement tonight on
That's it. Yeah. So we've got an announcement, special announcement.
It's a big announcement.
Well, Norbsky has been working her arse off on this, and it's all been put onto her. Initially, she put out rather than specifically picking up people or going, I'm going to go to this group, this individual, whatever. She put out the first come, first served. Let's do something for 174 Day. So basically, it's 174 24/7. That was the idea. Obviously, 17th of April. So that's a Saturday, which is brilliant.
Yes.
And it's a festival of what is going to be known as International Drum and Bass Day, 174.
Yes.
And and obviously jumped on it. Obviously, there's always the ATM underlying it and providing some foundation. And we've got some exciting stuff to reveal tonight in Norbsky's Battle Show. So if anyone's going to be around or wants to hear what the announcement is, that's where to go.
That's where to go, and it's a good announcement. So
Okay,
it's a raid train, but it's getting as many people on board with this, and it's not just like a raid train where someone does 3 hours and the next person does 2. It's just going to do an hourly thing. It's going to roll around the world, and it's just in celebration of 174. But we wanted to do something a little bit special with it as well, and mark it as the start of something really. So I suppose this is kind of us.
Okay, so let's while we're talking about this, let's plug Norbsky's Battle Show. I know tonight we have if you guys haven't seen it, let me tell you a little bit about this. So Norbsky's doing this show where she's done it 2 different ways. 2 DJs. You guys were the first. Mark did Caliber, and Flex, remind me who you did.
No, I was Caliber, and
you were Caliber. Sorry, Flex was Dimension.
I think it's like Focus in the first one.
Oh, that's it.
We did another one that was Break and Pendulum.
So what one of the ways this has worked is you have 2 DJs going head to head. One picks one producer, another one picks another producer. So their whole set works by that producer. 2 30-minute sets, then a chat afterwards, and the chat sort of votes. It's all friendly, all of that. The chat sort of votes for either who they like the best or who they thought captured the spirit of the producer the best. But then was it last? No, it wasn't last weekend. It was the weekend before last. Gouda and Mystery 2K
both of
did.
them.
Oh my God, it was so amazing. Instead of doing producers, they did DJs. So Mystery 2K was DJing in the style of
AMC,
and Gouda in the style of Andy C. Oh my God. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. And oh my God, both of them pouring sweat at the end of their sets. And
half an hour show, isn't it, of going a bit mental rather than the long drawn out sets. It's like let's approach it a bit differently.
Yes, and they were not interacting with the chat either, man. They were full send, just going for it. But Norbsky, what time is it tonight?
So it's 9 p.m. tonight.
9 p.m. tonight. So for me, that's 4 p.m. So that's I guess 5 p.m. On the East Coast. Yeah. And tonight is Decipher and Danny Wave, which I'm really excited about. And it's a full-on bromance between the 2 of them. So it'll be interesting to see them go head to head. Who are the producers that they're doing? Do you guys know?
Document 1 versus Serum. So Danny's Document 1 and Decipher, he's gone with Serum.
So a little bit of Foghorn tonight then.
There's going to be a fair few Foghorns in there. Yeah, there will be.
Yeah. And both of them are so much fun.
Genres as well, doesn't she? She doesn't just do drum and bass. She does all sorts. She's got reach beyond the drum and bass from people she's connected with. It's great. Lots of drum and bass.
That's been something that's really been nice too, sort of coming back and connecting with everybody. Is that when I first found jungle, young person, jungle was it, and if I didn't like it, it was shit. And I didn't want to hear about other subgenres or, anything like that. I mean, I could have like an appreciation, but it was not my jam. And now I did get sort of disillusioned with angry robot music and jungle for a while and found Two Step Garage and played that. But now, it seems like everybody in the scene has a much broader palette and an appreciation for many different subgenres and a a willingness to confess. Foghorn is not my thing, but that doesn't mean it's shit, or whatever. Liquid's not my thing, but it doesn't mean it's, trash. So that has been a nice thing. And I do really like that Norpsky is not just making it drum and bass, but is having, other kinds of DJs participate in that. I think that's really dope.
Yeah. There's a place for all of it, isn't there?
Yeah. React, you're actually buying Liquid tunes. Impressive. I would love to hear you spin them.
Yes, React.
Yeah, big up the liquid scene. So, okay, while we're sort of we've given ourselves a nice little break here, why don't you guys tell me a little bit about how you got sort of involved in the scene and ended up as DJs? If you guys don't know, Flex was an MC. So I'm very curious about your transition from MC to DJ.
Yeah, cool. So, my gosh, you're going to have to rewind a long time. So I've always DJ'd. So I bought myself a pair of, when I was about 13, belt-driven Syntronic, terrible to learn to mix on. But that's what I cut my teeth on. And then, so at the time when I kind of did that, I was playing music for ages, wanted to DJ, DJ'd quite well, I thought, but everybody was a DJ at the time. Everybody wanted to DJ. So I was like, what can I do? What can I do then if there's too many DJs amongst my friends? So I just picked up a mic one time at a club and started MCing, I suppose, or whatever you want to call it, emulating who I thought was pretty good at the time, which would have been GQ, I suppose. People would say back then.
Of course you were. That's why I listened to you.
Exactly. So yeah. And then there was people kind of turn up going, actually, you're not that bad at this. You should do it more. So I was like, right, okay, so I'll do that. And that's what I did for a long time. And I switched, the decks went to one side, always mixed, but yeah, just MC'd. And then MC'd locally, and then picked up a little bit more stamina with a local guy called Lennox. Big up Lennox, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and we had a lot of gigs running week in, week out. And then that progressed for me MCing for Forensic at ATM. And then the gigs went from local to national and sometimes abroad. Yeah,
nice.
and yeah, but I've always DJ'd, so if we rewind to Mark and Abby's parties that they did, I'll always MC and DJ, not at the same time. And I'm not going to do that on Twitch, by the way, for anyone that keeps asking. So, so in a short thing, I MC quite a lot back in the day. Yeah, so that's where my voice comes from, I suppose, that people point out. I've still got that.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I would argue that, I would argue that you're sort of MCing every time you do a stream, like you do have that presence on the mic and the sort of intangible, sort of undescribable, just presence of a DJ or of an MC, excuse me, while you're DJing.
Yeah, exactly that. But, so I love to DJ. For me, that's it. The MC thing kind of died along with the mag, when the mag changed hands and went out of Forensic's grasp at that time. I think it's the best way to put it. And I think the mag was, correct me if I'm wrong, it got sold on to yes, sold to Ray Keefe, didn't it?
Yeah, give or take. It kind of done the rounds, but it changed format at that time. I'd say changed format. No, it was the same format, but it was a very different approach to it.
Yeah, kind of went
Forensic. It was all under Forensic. The 15 years it was under Forensic's ownership, pure ownership, was very raw. Very.
I'm just laughing at Fuka, man. He's
I know. I saw that.
MC or unfollow. I love it. It's not going to happen, mate. Sorry.
It tied in with the scene up to that point with Forensic. But yeah, I know what Flex is saying at that point. You stop doing things. I stopped doing things. I had to leave Australia, and as a result of having to leave Australia, I was like, okay, I could come back here, and yeah, I've got a lot of love from a lot of people. I've got friends in the game, but I wasn't producing. I was a big fish in a small pond over in Australia, whereas here I'd be a small fish in a big pond. No matter how much love people have for me and relationships we've built.
Right.
and I honestly I couldn't really face the regression.
Mm-hmm.
The extra work that would have to be put in when I'd spent all this money on the magazine, put poured blood, sweat, and tears into the scene over there, and then it's back here because I don't expect the punters back here to know me unless I'm producing. So for me, I hung up my headphones at that point in terms of playing in clubs.
Right.
And like Flex said, he kind of did the same with the mic. But
I'll be honest,
continued it.
MCing changed for me quite a lot. So it became something that everybody did. I'm going to have to be political now. I probably won't say, but it became something that a lot of MCs I used to go to gigs and I'd get surrounded by other MCs. I'm like, can I go on the mic? Can you give me the mic? It's like, dude, I don't turn up the place you work and ask to have a go at what you do. Just leave me to it. And I think MCing I got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was MCing for other genres of music that I didn't, other parts of D&B that I didn't necessarily like, that didn't complement what I did that well. So yeah, I just kind of left it behind, and that was that. I was like, I'm going to focus on DJing.
You have to be. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
you have to be diplomatic, but I do not. So I'll just say it because I think it's probably very similar. In Houston, especially, everybody wanted to be an MC. Everybody wanted to get on the mic. And you had some people that it was all about them rather than being about toasting and hyping the vibe, hyping the party. It was about showing off my flow and my rhymes and, blah, blah, blah. It became something completely different.
I agree.
This will just tell you how bad it was. One night, myself and the girls in my crew were doing the entire room of a club night. So we had the whole room. We were DJing the room that whole night, and there was a mic plugged into the PA system, and we got so sick of it, we turned it off on the mixer. Thank God we had control of it. We just turned it off, and we watched and laughed our asses off the whole night as guys would come up, grab the mic, never talk to us, never ask us a question, never ask if it was okay for them to get on the mic. They would pick up the mic and just go, thinking the thing was live. And watching them go, and then watching the moment that they figured out that no one could hear them, priceless. Absolutely
all though, right?
Priceless.
They're so caught up with it. So there's the big difference, and people could try and level that at DJs. It's all about ego. I don't agree. There's ego wrapped up in it, and ego in the most positive sense. We've all got ego of varying degrees, and it's what you do with that ego, and how you treat it, how you approach it, and how you're from my point of view, playing music to people and entertaining people and playing to as many people as possible was because I knew what it was like to be on the receiving end of that music being played. And if I can emulate the things that my heroes did for me in the music scene, standing in World Dance and listening to Mickey Finn play a set that's got a load of his specials in, and being remember these huge dudes next to me that looked like they would kill me in an instant. And one of them was his jaw dropped as much as I did. And he just went, "This is amazing." I was like this little. I was small when I was 18, 19. I was still very young looking, and this guy was huge, really scary, intimidating bloke. But we were on the same level, watching this thing happen and experiencing it. So for me, DJing has only ever been about how can you best create a moment that that changes someone's life, or not changes, but it's like becomes a punctuation within their life, something that they remember for whatever reason. Whereas I find a lot of them, and it's all about the music, all about the music. Yes, if you define it in a certain way and create a certain vibe, brilliant. But the MCing thing, there's the GQ.
Only a handful that can do it. There's only a handful that can do it.
Yeah.
GQ,
there's the hosting thing. Go on, Flex.
GQ, Comrade, Flux, maybe there'll be some others I've probably not missed there, but they're
Stamina
the
is
three
phenomenal as well.
that-
I really enjoyed.
Stamina, Stamina.
Yeah,
because
I really enjoyed
it. Talk to people, like pick people out in the crowd and chatting to them, like we're doing on bloody Twitch. Like you see, I see Fuka there. I could chat to him right now. Stamina does that while he's got the mic in his hand, emceeing for Shy FX or Marky or someone with a huge audience. He gets actually involved, knows when to shut up, knows what he's a DJ. I mean, I had Stamina out DJing for me in Australia once as well as MC. Not at the same time. He came out and he did a DJ set. Easy, Becky, safe.
Yes.
I would say, you're right. SP as well, man. Phenomenal.
SP, GQ's protege, amazing. They'll talk. Let's not use the word talk. They know when to talk. They know when to not talk. They know their tunes. They can all mix, which makes a big difference. Flex, there you go, as another person. Flex is a point in case. I'm gutted that he won't MC because, as far as I'm concerned, he's in the top 10. Because he knows his music inside out. He knows when to shut up. He's got a good voice for it. He knows how to host. He knows how to big people up. I mean, everyone can attest to it in this chat. I'd say anyone who's passed through one of Flex's sets, you feel like you're one of the family as soon as you arrive. I can't do that. I try and do that. I'm pathetic at it. I miss all sorts of things. I mean, it's become a running joke with me, so it's fine. It's almost like become part of my brand. But with him, being able to toast, knowing the music, like Becky said, exactly. It's there's the MC thing when people are just riding a 174 beat and none of the other music that is within none of the other frequencies other than the kick and the drum and the snare that's all they're hearing. There could be a whole vocal going on, and it's just like swap. Like, what the hell? Like, I mean, I personally can't get my head around why people enjoy it, but I think the people enjoy it, the people who are very much into the MC thing. So there's place for it. There's absolutely a place for it. I'm not going to disrespect that entirely. But what you don't want, or what I don't want, is a whole hour or 2 hours or a whole night of the same thing. Yes. And if we take GQ into account and AWOL sets, he was the only MC for 12 hours.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's the best. Period.
He set the standard. He really set the standard.
But the thing is, by being the only MC, you know when to. I'm not doing that again, Viper. By being the MC, you for the whole night, spreading it over all those hours. Well, you're not going to try and do that in 1 hour, because if you've got to do that in 1 hour, you've got to do it in 12 hours, right? So you don't approach it in that way. And you're like, I want the music to breathe.
Yes.
I want to big up the DJ, like not blow smoke up their ass, but I want to big up the DJ. I want to big up the crowd. I want to big up us as a family environment. And then I'm going to shut up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm going to do.
So speaking of missing things real quick, let me just say, BG, thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Raiders, for being here. You guys are amazing. Yes. I think another important thing about MCs that sometimes gets lost is the conduit between the crowd and the DJ. The communicator, between those things. But like you said about, it's the same thing with DJs. Like, when I started in the scene, like it never even occurred to me that I wouldn't be a DJ, because the DJ was just one aspect of the event, right? You needed the DJ, you maybe needed the MC, you needed the crowd. Everybody was important, right? Everybody mattered. Everybody had an element that they were bringing. Without one of those elements, you couldn't have the party. And the opening DJ set the tone, right? They brought everybody in and got them ready for it. And for me, when I opened, that was really important to me, right? Like, I did not play the same set at 9 p.m. that I would play at midnight or 1 a.m. But man, I see DJ. To be fair, like we've slagged on MCs a little bit, but now we'll give DJs some some shit too. I mean, the guy that at 9 p.m. all he's doing is just dropping the biggest bangers he can think of or she can think of with no concept of the position in the night and what is the crowd going to be like? How many of them are going to be there, et cetera? Who's going to be playing the bangers at midnight? And it's sort of a very kind of self-focused position as opposed to I have a role to play in this entire event. What is my role? How can I best fulfill it so that I'm helping to make the entire event the best it could be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's going to be like now on the other side of this with people's understanding of the game. Because now, I mean, on Twitch, it's prime slot every slot. Big up 916 Junglist. Easy Billy Lane.
Hey, Billy Lane.
Every hour is prime slot somewhere in the world on Twitch.
Yep.
So it only becomes a slot when you approach it from a regional perspective. But like a 24/7 174 coming up, right? It's constant.
Well, and that's something I think is, you were talking about when you came back to the UK from Australia and how you were suddenly then a smaller fish in a much bigger pond, right?
Mm.
And the time and energy that has to be devoted to to getting your foot back in the door, in sort of in the physical world, right? In the physical space, there are limits. There just are. The event is 8 hours long, so you can only have enough DJs to fill that space. The club only has this capacity. People can only throw an event if they have the money, the connections, etc. So there are all these limitations that happen in the physical space. But in this space, in this virtual space, you don't have to get a booking from anybody. You're not putting out, you can have the party yourself and not have to put out a bunch of money into it. It's not a huge gamble, right? You don't have to have, play politics or whatever, because you're the booking agent. You're the one that's doing it. And one of the things that I've loved and that I really relate to is the long sets that DJs can do now. I can't tell you how many times I went out and I had an hour and I was just getting into the groove at like the 45-minute mark.
Mm.
And now these DJs can, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, and the journey that they can go on and, the sort of the vibe that they can create and ride is just, I mean, I imagine for a DJ, it would be really hard to go back to like a 1 hour set after being able to do that.
People are going to find out on the 17th of April during our 174 Fest, aren't they? Because they're doing hour sets. It is all hour sets, pretty much. So it's, I mean, the battle sets are half-hour sets. Makes it even. It just changes the game. So that's going to be a bit. The D&B Day event is going to be back to our roots of 1 hour sets. And you're right. Is it going to be? I mean, how are people going to approach it? I guess we're going to find out on the day. How people are going to approach it. Are they going to approach it in a more traditional sense? Are people still going to be doing their thing as usual? I mean, Flex can bang tune in after tune, still chat. Are other people going to do that? Are they going to play as though they're playing club-wise? Don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it is different because you're creating the journey, aren't you? When you, I mean, but sometimes you go in completely blind. You don't know where you're going, and sometimes you know exactly what you want to do.
Right.
And one of the reasons like we're doing the flashback events, is to actually give us some structure. Otherwise, it can be kind of just like let's see what happens. Step up.
Yeah. Well, like it's kind of like what Gouda DMB does and No Use for Anger does. No Use for Anger has his Sunday morning stream that's all about the sort of mellow, liquid, atmospheric,
Yeah.
um after party kind of vibe, and then he has his Thursday stream, which is harder, more kind of dance floor thing,
Mm.
and Gouda has his Tuesday that's all about liquid, and then on Thursday it's all neuro and hard and that sort of thing. And I think as an audience, people know what they know what they're going to get right when they get there. Of course, there's always the possibility that things will take a turn based just as at an event. You might think you're going to play
Yeah.
one thing, but the crowd wants something else. The night goes in a different direction. But the sort of guidepost of, okay, I know if I tune into Gouda on Tuesday, I'm going to get liquid. So if I'm in the mood for that, that's what that's where I go. Is really fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the great thing about Twitch is there's no right or wrong, is there? I mean, within
Right.
reason, and people can come up with ideas and angles on things.
Mhm.
You were asking earlier how we want to bring ATM back in lots of ways. I mean, if you think about the tune reviews that we used to do, that we used to write into the magazine,
Yeah.
they can be done on air, live. Gosh, it's and play a tune all the way through and sit there, chat about it a little bit.
Yes.
Get some heads to do the same. And when I say heads, I'm talking about heads on here as well as heads from back in the day or through the years or current big boys or whatever.
Mhm.
That's something we can build over time. But it's the
Yeah.
same approach. It's like there's feature segments, editorial segments in ATM from back in the day. Why not
Yeah.
just position them in stream mode?
Well, like I think it was 2 weeks ago, my friend Wes came on and we did on Saturday a whole genre like spotlight where
Mm.
we went into different subgenres. God, we didn't even come close to getting everything. But it was so much fun to really sort of dive into. We spent a lot of time in the late 90s and sort of dive into, jungle, jump up, tech step, hard step, neurofunk, sort of the birth of liquid, jazz step. And, we had such a good time really digging in and really talking about that. And I think, you know, again, for ATM, that's such a natural extension, of what he and I were doing is sort of what you would see in, a magazine article, sort of a
Yeah, there you go.
retrospective, kind of thing, except we had the bonus of being able to play live for people the kinds of tunes we were talking about, the specific tunes we were talking about, which was super fun. And definitely just another flavor that can be brought, another um, uh, another type of content that I think people, will
Yeah.
enjoy. Okay, I have to step. First of all, let me say it's afternoon, and I was only going to keep you guys until noon. I would love to keep talking, but if you have to go, I want to give you the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
I know you
Well,
guys have lives.
we do. So Flex is going to go on. I'm not sure what time he's going to go on.
Probably going to go on at 6, I would have said. So I've got a little bit of time. I
Okay,
might need to go and have I might need to go for a toilet break at some point. But yeah, other than that,
that's
I'm
what
good.
I'm going to do. So yes, we can do that.
So an hour from now, then
Yeah.
in theory, Flex will be playing for 3 hours before raiding into Nordski for the
Yes. Yes.
for the battle.
Yeah.
The Danny Webb battle.
Okay.
So
Well, do you guys want to just see?
bear with me 1 second.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
There we go. What's going on? So you get an insight into MK1's world there, right? There's Norbs.
Right.
She's gone again. And this is Yogi.
Oh,
This is the famous
Yogi.
Yogi.
Yes. The first time I saw Yogi was I think it was one of Norbski's Wellness Wednesdays. They were talking about mental health, and she had Yogi, but I couldn't see his face and I didn't see his butt. I just saw this ball of fluff, and I'm thinking I didn't know Norbski very well at that point, and I'm like, she's like stroking it. I'm like, what is that? Is that like, because we were talking, she was talking about mental health, and I was like, is that like a self-soothing kind of thing? Is that a teddy bear? Like, what is it? And then, of course, turns out to be the one, the only, the living Yogi.
He's
He's,
lovely.
Um,
He is. He's a
he-
lovely
yes,
dog.
yes.
he's
Okay.
awesome. But there's someone outside.
Oh, yes.
Basically, the food orders here,
Ah.
and this is where Yogi becomes Scrappy Doo. It's like puppy power. He literally kicks. He'll go nuts in a sec.
Yeah, he's gotta protect his territory there.
He is, and he's also worried that Norbsky is going to leave.
Right,
And
right,
he's
and
got
not take him with her.
Absolute anxiety that she might go away even for 5 minutes, leave the house.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
even though
yes,
me and him are tight,
yes.
I'm not her.
You're not Norbsky. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
He's
Okay,
the
so
world.
DJ Viper had a great question here, and maybe we'll rotate. I'll get you guys started. I'll step out, and then everybody that needs a visit to the ladies or gents can go. Where is it? Okay, I'm not gonna be able to put it up, but Viper asked if you have any stories when an artist was angry, maybe about a story, or like a label was angry about a story, and like, or a picture or something like that. Or God, it could be a promoter, it could be anybody.
There's definitely an MK1 in there. Are you going to tell the DJ Hype one?
Okay, I'm gonna be listening. I'll be right back.
Go on. I dare you to tell that. That was hilarious, I thought. Yeah.
Okay, Flex has set me right up there, hasn't he? So the DJ Hype one, that's funny. I get on all right with Hype, but there was, look at Viper, nice. Cheers, mate. When we did magazine number 3, Oceanic issue 3, I think it was, and I was out in Australia, Hype came out for a gig, and I mean, he doesn't live that far from here. Away he's got on with him okay. In fact, I think the last time I saw him was over in Germany at a rave, and he at the airport, in fact, on the way back, and he bought me breakfast because I was skint, and that I hadn't seen him for about 2 years. And he came out there, and I was like, "Oh, this is our latest ATM magazine." And True Players always advertised in the mother mag, and like I say, we had a tight relationship with Zinc. Same with Hype and Forensic. And yeah, so I got thanks, Flex. We just printed up whichever issue it was. It doesn't really matter. I'll have to look for it. I can work it out quite easily. Gave it to Hype, thinking that he'd be like, "Oh, Mark, that's brilliant. What you're doing over here is great." That's what I was kind of hoping for, if I'm honest. And he flicked through it, got to the last page, and he threw it back at me, or threw it on the sofa next to me. We were sort of downstairs in the VIP room thing at that point, and he was like, "Shit." It's like, what? I thought it was a joke at first, but he kind of actually meant it. He was like, "There's not a single fucking thing about True Players in here." At which point I was like, "There's possibly that's the case." I mean, we are in Australia, and we're primarily putting in Australian and New Zealand artists. We do put in artists from over this side as well, but it depends who's doing what and when. So there was probably someone else in there from the UK, but there was no. I hadn't even realised there was no. Yogi wants to go out. Go on, then. There we go. Yeah, so that didn't go down too well. There was another time when I wrote a gig review. I'd come home from I'd come back to England for a few months when I was living in Oz, and so I was already relatively established in Oz and had made lots of connections, including with the New Zealand guys. They might stay at my house or whatever when they come over to Perth for gigs, and we put various people on. One of them was Moses, who is now exclusively known as Need for Mirrors.
I just found Need for Mirrors recently.
All right,
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Guys, if you haven't heard, Need for Mirrors is a producer. Amazing, amazing work.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I think Need for Mirrors actually started with Zero T as well, but then Moses has continued that. But he was known as DJ Moses. Anyway, so we had become friends back on the Down Under. That's where we knew each other. I was here, and he's kind of like me. He'd happily roll up to a gig on his own, and we both happened to roll up to this one gig, not knowing each other was going there. He didn't know I was in the country. And yeah, we bumped into each other literally on the walkway in. It was a hallowed ground, actually. It's where AWOL Paradise Club used to be. And it was changed to like the Carling Academy club. And yeah, we just, like, fucking hell, how you doing, mate? Like, you know, had a good old catch up. Walked in, hung out for the night, as you do. And then, yeah, Soul in Motion now, like Becky Say says. Now, this was back in the day, this was called, I think, Faster. I think Zinc might have been running it. What was it? Was it?
I think so.
Yeah, so this is about 2004, I suppose. So because Moses was a mate of mine, and we had our banter, I ended up writing a review and basically took the piss out of me and him being loners. I was like, both me and Moses, neither of us have any friends, so we hung out together. Now, it's all well and good if there's any backstory, but because there's no backstory, and people and Moses was already establishing himself here, working for Brian and Frost, and he was you know, becoming part of the V family, and he was DJing under Moses, and he was starting to play out here as well. He was established here, so he had a whole load of people get in touch and go, "This wanker from ATM, he's taking the piss out of you." So me and him had a laugh about it, but you know, probably there are people out there thinking I'm some sort of arsehole that takes the piss out of other people who having no friends. And
oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Okay, Flex, if you need to visit the little boys, you go right ahead. MK1, same thing. Super happy to keep talking to you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
So, is it Simon 81's put, why is the average age of D&B fans over 30? Why do you think it doesn't appeal to younger generation as much now? It's a good question. That's a difficult one, actually, to answer. I mean, I don't know. Is it because that generation gap, that age gap, it knows a little bit more about the history of the music? Maybe could be something to do with that. I don't know. I mean, the younger generation do know D&B. They just know a different form of D&B. Stop smiling, Marcus. I can see you grinning there. But it's a different form of D&B that I might not necessarily like so much, which is the stuff that sounds a little bit like Toy Town. I'm not a big fan of that, but it's a big movement. So I don't know. I still think younger generation do get D&B, just in a different form. Is that a fair comment, MK?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know if there are actually stats on that. I mean, there probably are. I don't know whether anyone has them. I mean, the last drum and bass gig I went to, and pretty much the only one, I mean, forgetting that reunion Rage night, the only one I've been to in the last 5 years was Andy C's Christmas party, which was, so 2019. Do I mean that? Yeah, 2019.
It was literally just before lockdown.
And I mean, it was rammed. The venue's a big venue, and well, I mean, the main section was rammed, so I believe it was a sellout. In fact, yeah, it was a sellout. There were no more tickets. I had a real love-hate relationship with that particular event, but in terms of age range, I thought the age range was, I thought it was quite extreme. It wasn't at one end of the scale or the other.
Mark, you're talking about Printworks, aren't you?
I'm talking about the Printworks gig. Yeah. So, and there was a range of styles being played on the night, and a range of reactions to certain styles. So I think the kids, for want of a better phrase, are there.
Yeah.
It's just the stuff that is turning them on might not necessarily be identical to the stuff that we're listening to, but your outlook changes
Hmm.
over time anyway. I used to be a very anthemic player when I used to play music in Perth, and now I'll play more of the stuff that I want to hear myself, or I want to make myself, rather than necessarily stuff that I'm. But it's a DJ's job to entertain people, not to be up your own arse and go, you need to love what I do only. We're playing other
Yeah.
people's music at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So entertain. But yeah, I think the kids are still in it. It's just like I agree with what Becky's saying there, 18 to 45. I feel like the range is that. The attitude towards certain things, the response towards certain things, the Printworks thing was a bit of an eye-opener. There's been a massive shift through the years. I don't actually, funny enough, Viper, I don't agree with that here. More girls now, maybe in Perth, and that's a great thing. I almost feel like it's become more of a sausage party over here, to be honest with you. And, you know, I'm going to put myself in the middle-class white boy range and say that that's what that Printworks gig felt like, but very much felt like, you've got to be careful not to be PC. PC, that's what you're saying, Giza. Yeah, I was disappointed with the audience. Not the audience, the vibe. But the vibe is reflected, a reflection of and reflected by. And, you know, we've obviously all had to deal with, not deal with, not the right word. We're all very aware of race-related talks and conversations. And I was considering, you know, I cut my teeth on 94 Jungle in the heart of London as this little kid, but you knew that don't step on anyone's toes, and everyone's there for the music and the love of the music, and people are in it hard. I don't know that that's necessarily the same now that people are in it so hard, and I think that's what the difference might be. It's like it's something to do because you go to a festival and you experience this thing. You might be experiencing it alongside a load of other music. You then decide to go to a gig like that Andy C gig. People going to that Andy C gig, so, you know, almost some are there to be seen, to be there. But yeah, with the whole race thing going on, I hadn't, and the fact that I'd been away for, that's a really bad way of saying that whole race thing going on, but people know what I mean without falling over my words and saying something ridiculous. But other than a handful of the DJs and a handful of the security, it was just like a bunch of white boys.
Yeah.
The vibe felt like that. And it felt like it was missing some soul, a lot of soul, a lot of variety, a lot of diversity across the board. And for me, with most of the music that was played that night, I kind of felt like the music reflected that as well. I mean, Flex, there was one point me and Flex stopped. He was like, this tune coming, you've got to listen to this. And it hit fucking hard. I think it was Eni Sinking.
It was,
Sinking. Fucking hard. But then the drop came in and I was just like, look at the way people were reacting. It drops, but it's very formulaic. There's no doubting the way it fucking hits hard, right? And yeah, amazingly produced tune. But when it dropped, it was just like a lack of vibe. I remember when, like, you know, Andy C will talk about how he loved being in the end, and like you drop a certain tune and people almost be pouring over the DJ booth, over the perspex, you know, which is wow, just going absolutely mental, losing their shit. And these aren't people off their tits on drugs. These are people losing their shit because they're so passionate, so into the music. And the music was also doing different things, and it wasn't formulaic. So when these things dropped, they stood out, and there was lots of diversity across the music. And yeah, it's but that's I mean, it's the nature of the game. It's expanded. I mean, how many tunes that are released every week? 200 a week, something like that. It's nuts. You know, that wouldn't happen back then. So maybe there's a difference there. The scene's bigger. The world's a bigger place in terms of population. More people are doing it.
Well, so I'll throw in here too something that I think. Ludacris, I'll just say real quick, what does race have anything to do with the party? I think maybe MK, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you were getting at is the idea that diversity is something we're paying more attention to now. And I would say for myself, I feel like the demographic of the artists that you see and the demographic of, you know, the events is maybe even less diverse now than it was originally.
It's the unity thing. And this music was born out of something raw. Something, you know, I don't want to use the word street, but you kind of get what I'm saying if I go down that.
Urban.
And it was for everybody. It was for everybody, and there was no discrimination. And by everyone being there, you got the diversity of vibes, the shared rather than segregated. It's like all the fucking subgenres now, like gigs that are dedicated to subgenres. Fuck them. I can't be fucked with those. It's like I used to go to gigs where it was Mickey Finn, LTJ Bookham, Groove Rider, Carl Cox on the same stage, you know?
Yes.
And the vibe was second to none. So it's not that race has something to do with a party, Ludacris. It's the fact that there has been a regression from a scene that was born out of diversity and unity. For some reason, it's regressed from that point of view, become less diverse, become more monopolized by certain sounds, production, possibly DJs as well, and support. And my question is why? It's good. I can see. Who can you blame that? The people? No, you can't blame it on the people go out. No, of course you can't. Yeah. And I'd never do that. I'm only talking about. I'm not apportioning any blame here. I'm just talking about this was the result, and I noticed it because I hadn't been out for 5 years. For me, it was like, wow, this is odd. I've come to this Andy C gig, come to a gig which been run by a guy, or under the name of a guy that I know well, whose gigs I used to go to at the end. And now I spent a long time out the country, working in the scene, in a less diverse country in Australia, in terms of maturity on that front. And it was a shock to me for it to be like that. And you say, what does it have to do with a party? I mean, I couldn't say, oh, if you've got a bunch of people like this, then they're going to react in a certain way. All I can say is there were a bunch of people like this, and the feeling was a certain feeling, and it was a shock to me. And it was a bit of a shame.
Yeah. So I will say, first of all, that I get it that, you know, younger folks who are watching might be like, oh, well, you guys are old, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I think that everyone has a tendency to be nostalgic about when they got in. So yes, that said, however, I think you have a different experience when you are involved in a smaller genre that is not mainstream, that is not big, that is not widely accepted. There is a self-select, right? The people that are there because they are really into it. It's not popular. You have to work to find it. And so the people that are there have fought to get there, and they're there because they're really passionate. When it's bigger and it's easier to access, and you don't have to fight to be a part of it, and it's just something that you hear at a festival or you hear on the radio or whatever, you have people that are more casual about it. that are maybe not as intimately connected with the music, and so their their bar for what's good or not, their reaction to things is different. You
Mm.
know, in in 95, you had to love jungle to be there. Certainly in America, 92, when you guys were doing it, there was no Ronnie Size getting, represent getting a Mercury Prize or, things like that. And now it's just so accessible. You can have a lot more casual listeners there. And I think you get a different vibe because of that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's,
but
it's
I
just
think
commentary on on experience. That's all. That's
Mhm,
all.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and a feeling that came as a result of that. And yeah, I mean, it was a long way away, and it wasn't just to do with my age and being this wide-eyed kid back when it started. It wasn't
Right.
just that. There was
Right.
definitely a noticeable difference in vibe, and you could, to the point that it wasn't something I went looking for. Right? It's just like
Mhm.
something you're like, hang on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
This is a bit bizarre, and it just, to me, it just felt a bit. Oh no, I can't really explain it. It just didn't have that
Mhm.
same level of soul and vibe, and when the jungle thing was raw. Maybe there is nostalgia wrapped up in that as well, but I don't think it is entirely. I think there's been a noticeable change, and yeah, in a scene like that. But this is where things are splintered all off, right? An Andy
Mhm.
C night, an Andy C party is not going to be the same as what Becky Safe mentioned, Soul in Motion, a Soul in Motion gig that's run by Need for Mirrors and Bailey is going to be
Mhm.
very different, and being put on for free midweek in the heart of London, a club
Mhm.
underground, is going to be very
Mhm.
different anyway to commercialised Andy C, run by majors, essentially with all that backing, a massive
Right.
5,000 people event
Right.
is going to attract a different audience anyway. It could
Mhm.
be that audiences have just splintered, and I just happen to go to
Mhm.
something that now has morphed into, has got the following that it did have on that night.
Mhm.
And then if I go to one of Moses' nights on, Need for Mirror's night, in the middle of the week, it's grimy. It's like Swerve used to be back in the day, Fabio's Swerve, or like where everyone and heads meet up there and whatnot. This wasn't really, the Andy C gig wasn't really a heads meeting place, other than the fact it was his Christmas gig. People passed through, but briefly, and even when they did, they were being, I saw sub focus in and he couldn't breathe. He was in the VIP area, and I
Mhm.
haven't seen him since he was staying in my house in Perth back in 2003, 2004 maybe. So I was keen to go and say hello to him after all this time.
Mhm.
But I just didn't even. I chose not to go anywhere near him because I was like, he's come here. He's not on the bill. He's sub focused, so he's got his own uh, um, schedule of gigs anyway. But he's made the effort to come to an Andy C Christmas party night. It
Right.
was not anything. I think it was just to show his face. But every time he tried to walk away from one person, someone else was on to him as
Right.
well. So there's a lot of there's superstars in the game now
Mhm.
as well, and they're going to get tired of
Yeah.
things. Whereas once they stayed as a family unit, and
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's just changed. Maybe that's all it is.
Well, and looping back to the original question about, that I love this discussion that we got into about, age. I think a lot of it just has to do with what event you're at. Like you said, you're going to get one crowd at a giant 5,000 people capacity, venue, and you're going to get a completely different, uh, mix of people at the smaller, more, underground events. I think a lot of, uh, a lot of what we see and our perception of who's interested has to do with where we're standing. The like Twitch, for example, there are so many women on Twitch. Like it is, in the listeners, in the streamers, there's so many women, and definitely more than I have seen in other places. It just, well, a lot of it depends on, where you're at. But
Yeah.
Base Fanatic, are you still here? Because I just realized I have a call scheduled with him, but he knows. He knows I'm here. He knows I'm talking to you guys.
I can
So
see Norbsky letting me know the time, which is
yes,
I've got something.
yes.
I've got to do some.
Yeah. Well, you need to eat
It's
too.
not-
Your food is there. Hey, Base Fanatic, cool. Yeah, why don't we for now wrap it up? But I do want to get you guys back because this has been really great. This has been really fun. We haven't even really talked about your origin stories or, things like that. And maybe we'll have more to talk about after, tonight's announcements or after the 174 uh fest. I guess if it's a fest, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've really, really enjoyed having you guys here. Thank you so much for
It's been brilliant, Curly.
yeah, thank you so much for giving
fun.
me your time. The older I get, the more I realize that is literally the most valuable, precious resource we have. And so for you to give some of it to me, I really, really appreciate it. And
love the chat.
yeah,
I love watching the chat go
yes.
through as well.
Yes, thank you all for being here, guys. You've asked great questions, and love having you be a part of it. And BG, thank you so much for the raid. You guys are all fabulous. I just love you. Arm crew, yes, your moms. I think she met ATM crew. So
We'll
yes,
go along.
big up big up the ATM crew. We love
Thank
you guys. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. Guys, on Tuesday, I want to let you know that my guest is going to be Distinct. I am Distinct D&B. She's an amazing DJ, really fun. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. And then next Saturday, Base Fanatic is going to be here. So that's going to be awesome. Yeah, Base Fanatic will be at 2:00. Yeah, 2:00 UK time, 9 a.m. Central. And then the clocks will change again and I'll be all messed up. Because you guys will have your daylight savings time changed.
You go back,
So
we go back to normal, don't we? You catch up again, or it becomes the same again, the 5 hour difference. But now
I'll go from I was at 6 hours to GMT. Now I'm at 5, and I'll thankfully go back to 6. But by the time we go back to 6, I'll finally be used to 5. So yeah, that'll be crazy. Guys, I'm gonna take us out, but let's see, who are we gonna raid?
And thank you so much, by the way, Curly. It's been
it's been good. It's been really
Flex,
good.
you should get on before Curly raids, and then
Flex, go ahead and get on, and then we'll raid into you. Yeah, we can vamp and improv here.
Yeah, that's cool. All right.
Yeah,
peace.
that'd be great.
Wicked.
That would be fantastic to be able to raid into you after having this conversation. So get out of here. Go get online.
Cool.
Get to streaming.
But thank you so much. It's been great fun.
Yeah.
And not usually on this end of an interview,
Yeah. Flex, take your time if you have to hit the restroom.
Just give me 5.
Take your time.
That's cool.
Take your time. Yeah, Becky, we're gonna really surprise him. Let's go find 100 people in here, and then we'll really surprise him with like 150 people. Right. See ya. Thank you, Flex.
But there is a surprise coming up later today, so that's
yes, I'm excited about that. Let's plug that again. What time is Norbsky's show? Her battle show tonight.
The battle show starts at 9 GMT. So Flex will play for the next 3 hours or so into Norbs, and then decipher Danny Wav. Do we say Danny Wav or Danny Wave? Because obviously a Wav is a wave.
Yeah. Maybe that's a UK US difference
with him.
I've always said wave because I think about a wave file, but
correct. Yeah.
React says WAV.
WAV. Yeah. That's what I've always said. Just but the question was asked.
Yes.
And then I'll play afterwards for an hour or so, and then we'll go and see. I think Mr. L Double Flex D&D
Yes.
after that.
Yes. Oh man. So yeah, let's talk about that, right? The great equalizer. Like I am having conversations with L Double now. What? Like 2020 has been the wildest year, like it not just, technology has given us more access, I think, to, it's certainly given me more access to produce music and, to talk to people. But like the fact that I have access to one of the absolute Dawn's originators, of this sound and like actual conversations is just amazing
He's
to
a wicked
me.
bloke as well, isn't he? Lovely guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so talented and yeah, and so important and yet so humble.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So Mark, did I hear you mention music that you want to make? Are you making music? Do you produce?
I'm dabbling. What year was it? Oh, it's almost 2 years ago now. I can't believe that. Let's write off last year. So
Yeah.
last year didn't exist, and I'm going to say last year, which is referring
Mhm.
to the year before. I decided I would finally get into to the point where I can.
Mhm.
I just haven't done a great deal, but I did go to Point Blank Music School, which is a wicked music school here in London.
Nice.
But a few things sort of pushed me in that direction, which included some of D&B's producers being teachers there. And
Mm.
this is a university level school. Not that I did that course. I did 6 months there. I just wanted to. I wanted to get past that. And some people go, "Oh, you can watch it all and learn it all in videos. Why are you paying for a course?" Yeah, no shit. You can watch anything or learn anything in videos and books. Does that mean you're going to do it all? No. So the one thing that I was like, I've got to break through the barrier. So I'm going to get someone to teach me and get forced with some sort of curriculum.
Right.
I haven't done a great deal for many reasons. Twitch being one of them. It's been
Yeah.
this has taken over and become another thing to deal with. The
Mhm.
stuff we want to do with ATM and Atmosphere is all no, it's not online school. It's a physical school. So I was going up there, spending a couple of days a week there being taught. So I mean, Bailey is a teacher there. Dave Stone from Gerham Stone. Who else was there? Rockwell. I'm trying to think who else was there. Craigs and Parallel. One half of Craigs and Parallel Forces is a teacher there. So you're surrounded by these D&B heads, but it was all
Right.
genres. It was all genres and some really
Nice.
really wicked people
Mhm.
that work there. So it was a good grounding for me. And yeah, I mean, I've got some stuff, got some equipment that I can use and play around with making some stuff. And yeah, it will
Nice.
happen. It's just a time thing. It's just a time
Yep.
thing when I'm not choosing
Yeah.
to do something else. It's all choice.
Yeah.
And I would and could and should dedicate more time to it. You'd think with the whole lockdown thing that it would have become an easier thing. But it became harder,
Mhm.
strangely. Now I'm waiting for the day that I can move over to a tropical island again and sit in the back of a bamboo hut making some music.
Well,
That'll do.
I mean, before lockdown, you didn't have Twitch, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
there's like a big time commitment
Yeah,
right there.
yeah,
And it's weird because when physical parties, right? Like physical the things you were doing with your friends, you can't do that 24/7 or I mean you could, but you have jobs and lives and all of that. It's not something you're doing 24/7. Twitch is available literally at any moment of the day ever.
mm,
And
mm.
so, like, I know for me, I've struggled sometimes to find balance, but yeah, it's hard sometimes to like tear myself away and be like, I love these tunes, but I'm gonna go and make one of my own. So I love you guys. I gotta
Oh,
step
I
away.
have to actively, and I do actively on a regular at the moment, just switch off from it
Mm-hmm.
because of all other stuff going on, and I want to keep the love for it. So I can't totally immerse myself in it because I know what I'm not doing when I'm twitching, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and that would be the thing that gets on my back. Oh, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. Right? Something's got to give. So yeah, it's all about balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all will find an equilibrium, you know, like I know for me, when I first found it, it was so amazing to, you know, being in the US, hadn't had a real scene in a long time. And it was so amazing to be so involved and immersed in the music again and have so
Yeah.
many people to talk to and connect with that, you know, it was like whoosh, like the only thing I was focused on for a long time. But
Yeah.
I'm finding more balance now and, you know,
Yeah.
equilibrium and, you know, we all have competing priorities, right? So, you know,
I fully
I'm trying
appreciate I
to
need to know when to shut up as well, which doesn't happen much. Doesn't happen much. At least I shut up when I get behind the decks. I can't speak then. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Go from one extreme to the other. But
it's hard. It's
it is hard.
really hard.
You
Like it's
hide
hard
behind
for
them. I
me.
hide behind these. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. Oh, that's a nice very mobile setup
Yeah,
there.
you know, rolls in. Bosh.
Look at that.
Except it's stuck on a bit of carpet at the moment.
Look at the lovely covers you have there for the controller and the
Yeah,
and the
covered in dust otherwise.
gorgeous.
Yeah, good old IKEA.
Hey, you know what? Those IKEA cube shelves are holding records all over the world.
Yep.
You know, they're the perfect size. Shoot, what else was I going to say? I can't remember. But so you're playing tonight as well after the battle show?
After the battle show, yeah, I'll go on and fill the gap between us and El Double.
Yeah.
I think it is tonight.
Yeah, I will echo the sentiments of the person earlier who said we need more streams from you because I always enjoy them. So
thank you. Yeah, I will
Yes.
step up. I will step up. Once we get that foothold that we want to do and take the foot off the pedal a little bit in terms of setup and preparation, then yeah, I can just relax and enjoy it a bit more. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
Does anybody have any?
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Does anybody have any questions for Mark while we're sitting here? Do you have if I say to you, you know, tell me a story from your time with ATM, is there something that jumps out at you? I mean, I know you have many stories, but like, is there one in particular that either you think I would enjoy or that is, you know, legendary to you or something?
Oh, I can tell a story about what ATM stands for, which I can see Fooker's mentioned. Atmosphere magazine. So the magazine was originally Atmosphere, which I don't know if you were here earlier on, but
oh God, yes, yeah, definitely bring more of these out for people that.
That's how it started. Oh, there you go.
I'm going to make you big. So, whoops, I didn't mean to make. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I meant to make you big, not me.
So that's how it started, Atmosphere, and then over time. In fact, I think this was the version when it did it. Yeah, there you go. So it grew into this, and this was the first sort of proper rebrand, and we had Mo, and the rest of the front cover was there, and the ATM thing stuck, and yeah, Forensic decided to go with ATM, trim it down. Atmosphere the magazine.
Love it.
There it is.
Love it. So that's the evolution. I love that it was the fold with the Atmo that got you guys moving in that direction. That's amazing.
Yeah. But as for stories, probably too many. And if Flex is rolling and we're ready to roll, and Norski's gonna
is he ready?
Kick my ass to make sure we're prepared for tonight.
Fantastic. He's live. Guys, we are going to raid into DJ Mr. Flex. Again, Tuesday, I am Distinct DNB is going to be my guest. Mark, again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And guys, we'll see you. We'll see you Tuesday. We'll see you in the streams. Take care. Be good to yourselves and each other. And